Are you searching for the best in online black radio? Then go to blacktalkradionetwork.com, helping you filter through the noise. Real talk, black talk.
You don't hear nothing in the middle of the night like what we hear around any black people almost anywhere you find them. I mean, always something hostile. Always. And 90% directed toward another black person. What you mean, nigga? What you mean? And then that dies out as they get further and further away, and then along come a car stopping at a stoplight. Boom, da boom, da boom, da boom, the car is just shaking. And you know it'll come to pass, I'll kick you in your ass.
Okay! Okay! Whoa! Okay! You white up to the club, nigga, I don't give a fuck. Shaking your ass in the club, bitch, I don't give a fuck. Drinking drinks in the VI, I don't give a fuck. Talking shit about me, bitch, I don't give a fuck. You got a pocket full of money, nigga, I don't give a fuck. You drinking up with them hoes, bitch, I don't give a fuck. In the club with the pussy click, I don't give a fuck. Security on my dick, bitch, I don't give a fuck. Drop the balls on the motherfucking pussy ass nigga. Drop the balls on the motherfucking pussy ass nigga. I got that east side with me, I don't give a fuck. Got that west side with me, I don't give a fuck. Drop the balls on the motherfucking pussy ass nigga. Drop the balls on the motherfucking pussy ass nigga. I got that north side with me, I don't give a fuck. Got that south side with me, I don't give a fuck. We rollin' deep in this bitch, so fuck y'all niggas. We rollin' deep in this bitch, so fuck y'all niggas. I got that dirty side with me, I don't give a fuck. I got that Midwest with me, I don't give a fuck. Insecurity step up, we'll crush them niggas. Insecurity step up, we'll crush them niggas. I got that East Coast with me, I don't give a fuck. I got that West Coast with me, I don't give a fuck. You ride up to the club, nigga, I don't give a fuck. Shaking your ass in the club, bitch, I don't give a fuck. Drinking drinks in the VI, I don't give a fuck. Talking shit about me, bitch, I don't give a fuck. You got a pocket full of money, nigga, I don't give a fuck. You drinking up with them hoes, bitch, I don't give a fuck. In the club with the pussy click, I don't give a fuck. Security on my dick, bitch, I don't give a fuck.
All the bitch must bite, my mom ain't married, bitch, I'm a bastard. Nigga, I fuck over me. You know what I do to these rappers? They coming there huffing and puffing and screaming and cussing and busting their verses. Nigga, you better calm your ass down, unless you excited to see me in person. I roll with thugs and felons, Escalation's own killers. We gon' teach you old punk ass niggas respect us authority figures. Don't call my kind, boy, when we be pouring up in the club. You going down, boy, too bad, fuck you, sorry for you. Nothing that's pocket shook, but I ain't the one to come look. Cause all I can tell the police is I am not a crook. I fuck big time bitch, my dick get hard, watch it grow. They give me fire head and blow me shotguns, good dope. Now tell me that ain't the life. Tell me my niggas ain't for life. Now tell me that shit ain't tight. Tell me that you won't be just like me. I beat these bitches down, I wash these towers up. Nigga, you talking shit? Oh, you trying to power up?
Right up to the club, nigga, I don't give a fuck. Shaking your ass in the club, bitch, I don't give a fuck. Drinking drinks in the VI, I don't give a fuck. Talking shit about me, bitch, I don't give a fuck. You got a pocket full of money, nigga, I don't give a fuck. You drinking up with them hoes, bitch, I don't give a fuck. In the club with the pussy click, I don't give a fuck. Security on my dick, bitch, I don't give a fuck.
Y'all niggas ain't ready for this, motherfuckers ain't steady for this, cause y'all still ain't learned. Nigga got a 4-4 cock and the flow so hot, make a motherfucker feel that burn. Niggas say word, now what I earn. You stay up off my dick, don't back talk me, nigga, till they get up in them. Back up off of this, nigga, don't wanna get fucked up, just shut up the talking. Barking better barking, marking, nigga talking. Barking better watch it, dodge it, never mind, he caught it. With a thugs at up in this bitch, fuck a nigga up, y'all represent. Give me some gin, give me some hen, no, just give me both and I'll mix it all in. Who wanna take 'em a sip of the sin? Let me get you twisted, man. Niggas on fire, don't stop dropping them, that's a lot. We we just won't die. We come back flyer than ever, higher than ever this time, with venomous rhyme. So any nigga wanna get involved, what you think you can fuck with my dogs? Nigga, you figure you rough enough, stylish, thug enough? Did you think you can fuck with us? Boom, 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 boom. You ready to do this, the hell with the song. We ain't got to tell you what's on. You know this, popping the Glock, put a stop to the whole shit. Y'all still can't fuck with us, and never will, because we too fucking cold, too fucking bold. There's so many souls that's ready to roll with them goddamn bones.
You rise up to the club, nigga, I don't give a fuck. Shaking your ass in the club, bitch, I don't give a fuck. Drinking drinks in the VI, I don't give a fuck. Talking shit about me, bitch, I don't give a fuck. You got a pocket full of money, nigga, I don't give a fuck. You drinking out with them hoes, bitch, I don't give a fuck. In the club with the pussy click, I don't give a fuck. Security on my dick, bitch, I don't give a fuck.
Hey, man, you better take them dark glasses off, so you can see where you going. Well, you ain't gonna have no glasses, no eyes neither. You talking to me, man? Yeah, I'm talking to you. Ain't nobody else here. You know, but 9 white people standing there. See, they're saying ain't no other niggas here. Ain't no other niggas here. Because I'll take care of a nigga. I ain't gonna bother these white folks at all. That's too much trouble. I just want a little bit of trouble, you know.
Context of White Supremacy, Justice Gus T Renegade in for another broadcast. What you just heard, that's black culture, 21st century. Major aspect of black culture, 21st century. I posted when I was promoting this program, I was able to get up. Be advised, this is going to be explicit content, and the reason that is the case, I really am proud that the C.O.W.S is G-rated for a variety of reasons, but this one is not going to be, and the reason is I have concluded that a major part of the problem with regards to why we have not replaced white supremacy with justice, black people, we are not honest with ourselves. And this program, I hope, will help us be a little bit more honest about the way we have been programmed to treat each other. Because really, it's just an indictment of white people. That's really all it is at the end of the day, an indictment of white people. But one of the major things white people have done, they have successfully groomed black people to loathe and despise black people. This program is, if you will, putting that smelly pamper up so that we know, oh, there's a problem. We need to address this. There's a major problem, anti-blackness, major problem. I want to hop right to it. The person who suggested that we do this program was really looking for an opportunity to spend some time addressing this issue and hopefully offering some suggestions for correcting this problem. She has been on the program many times. I know tons of people are always elated to hear her on the program. Co-author of Black Love is a Revolutionary Act, as well as Trojan Horse, Death of a Dark Nation. Joining us for this evening's program, Pam. Pam, are you with us?
Good evening, Gus. How are you?
I'm a little under the weather, but I'm ready to roll. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing okay. Glad to be here. Glad to be doing the show. I think it's a super, super important show.
I agree 1,000%. The website for Pam, you can check out more information on the books that are already out, as well as books that will be coming out soon, TrojanHorse1.com. TrojanHorse1.com. Pam, if you want to share anything before we get started, feel free.
Well, let's see. The main thing that I would share with the listeners is the importance, and you had mentioned it as our earlier conversation, and that was honesty. If we can't admit we have a problem, we can't fix it. And I personally think the biggest antidote to anti-blackness is complete honesty. And the strange thing about honesty is once you face it, really face it, it gets a lot easier. You know, so I think that we need to be completely honest. I mean, we're all guilty. It's not like anybody can put themselves on a pedestal. and say that they're not doing this. I think we all do it, and we've all done it, and we're still doing it. And I would add that acknowledging that we're less than perfect, acknowledging that we're going to stumble and fall, that we're going to make mistakes, that we're going to bloody our noses is just as important. I mean, I can be on this show tonight and say something totally off the wall tomorrow, get mad at somebody at work, say something anti-black. Well, what am I supposed to do, just kill myself? I have to acknowledge that it's a learning process. I have to unlearn over 30 years of behavior, not just my behavior, but generational behavior that came from my family, that came from my friends, that came from my community, and trying to unlearn generations of behavior. And it's not going to be easy, and it's not supposed to. So I would just say we should get used to making mistakes and stumbling. But as long as we keep going and moving forward, we can make some progress. But if we can't overcome this anti-blackness, you can just write the whole counter-racism thing off as far as I'm concerned. That's got to be the starting point. We have to unlearn being anti-black to the best of our ability.
I could not agree more. Let's see, I will save my thoughts. I will defer. You can kind of set us up with the anti-blackness so folks have a better understanding of what we're talking about, because you suggested during this program. So if you want to kind of get us rolling, when you use the term anti-black, what do you mean?
What I mean is, actually, to me, it's the same thing as being pro-white. And anti-blackness to me means that we look at other black people, and ourselves included, but especially other black people, as something defective, inferior. We're looking at other black people through the eyes of white people, condemning eyes. I mean, how many times have I heard someone say, that's just like a nigger, that's just like black people? I had somebody say that to me today about, when you go into a store like Best Buy and you ask somebody to help you, find a product, the black person will point you in the direction. The white person will take you there. I said, that's not true. I've walked in the store, and white people have pointed it out to me, and I've walked in stores, and black people are very helpful. So here we are stereotyping each other. But all this is learned behavior, and this comes strictly from being in a white supremacy system. So I would say anti-blackness is the programming that black people get in an anti-black, hostile to black people, black-hating society. It's almost a natural byproduct. So to me, anti-black means that you are viewing black people as defective collectively. You're viewing black people as something that's wrong with being black. And you're actually just really regurgitating what white people have taught you about black people. So, there's so many millions of examples of anti-blackness. You and I were talking earlier about, how we're real quick. Black person says something that we don't like. Man, they're not just that black person. Say Susan Smith says something. She doesn't represent Susan Smith. She represents niggas. So this is the kind of stuff that I call anti-black, where it's almost automatic. It's almost like instinctive to put other black people down, to stereotype other black people, to basically just dislike other black people. And we can't honestly admit that, because we know when we say it out loud, that sounds crazy. So a lot of it is a lack of us accepting the fact that we all have that anti-blackness in us. Thinking somebody is pretty just because they don't look real black. That's anti-black. Stereotyping other black people, blaming other black people for white supremacy, blaming poor black people for being poor. That's anti-black. So I think a lot of it is just seeing black people through white people's eyes. And that just means that, black people are going to be defective automatically.
Seeing black people through the eyes of racist woman and a racist man, I think that is the goal of white supremacy. I think that is a huge part of the system. White people know it is incredibly important to instill that, anti-blackness in all of us. And I think we pointed this out before. I'm in complete agreement about anti-blackness. It's really just the flip side of white identification. It's really just another way of saying the same thing. If you're praising white people and want to be around white people, want to be sexually involved with white people, all of that, you are going to have total disregard for anybody who is not white, who falls short. And obviously the people who are furthest from white people, black people, you are going to have a total disregard for black people. And just to be honest, I think all of us, every single non-white person, every single black person who is a victim of white supremacy is suffering from anti-blackness. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that is a major part of the success of this system, grooming us to just, as I said at the very beginning, loathe and despise other black people. And you see it manifested in so many different ways. I can play the song at the beginning of the program. I mean, it's so many different anecdotes, if we're really honest about the ways that this plays out. Chemically mutilating your hair, that's anti-blackness. Being afraid of being in the sun, that's anti-blackness. Wanting your child, make sure you don't marry anybody too dark, that's anti-black. I mean, it comes out in so many different ways. Just so folks will know, Gus is anti-blackness. I said repeatedly, lived in Atlanta. I worked in a black comedy club. They used to play that song, Little John. I used to play it every day, every single day. And people would brag about harming other black people, name-calling other black people, degrading other black people. They would brag about this. I mean, it was a source of pride. They felt good. It seemed like it was a bright spot in their day. If I can get a few moments to tell this black person, and that's like I already got the explicit, because this is the way it comes out. Just if I can get an opportunity, if I can just get 30 minutes to make sure that I let as many black people know, nigga, you ain't shit. That has made my day. I have seen that my whole life.
Yeah.
Every day on display. The little phrases that I've heard from black, and again, white people are to blame for this. Totally the result of racist woman and racist man. But the little phrases I would hear black people say. One was, act your age, not your color.
Right. I didn't think about that one. Yeah.
Those little phrases we throw out. Spewing. It's like we're just vomiting anti-blackness just every moment of the day. What's the other one they say? Niggas and flies I do despise. The more I see niggas, the more I see flies.
Yeah.
I used to hear, and you want the cherry on top, I used to hear a black person say this at least once a month. He would say this. And the kicker, sometimes he would say it and he would add a little extra part on the end. He would say all that and then he would say, I wonder which came first, them niggas or them flies.
Oh, my goodness.
I think it was them niggas.
Oh, God. I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's just...
I mean, it's pitiful. You almost got to laugh to keep from crying.
Right.
This is us on display every day. And if you want to think about it, this is the result of Precious. This is the result of Sanford and Son. Well, what Gorilla Cookies. This is the result of racism, white supremacy, and all areas of activity, especially if you want to look at entertainment. This is the product of 400 years of this behavior and the images that we see of black people. This is the end result where you get black people. As I said, I was around black people. I was in Atlanta. It's a reason I'm in Seattle. Hearing that song every day, 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day. Hearing black people all day long, bitch ass nigger, all day long. I'm guilty of it myself. You hear it so much. That behavior, you pick it up. What you see people do, you pick it up. I used to say this. I couldn't even count how many times. I used to say everything he was saying in that song. I used to say it to other black people.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would have to say my tendency to use the word nigger increased probably over the last 10 years, possibly due to the type of entertainment that's out there. All the negative imagery, the music. Even though I don't listen to rap music, I was dancing to that music you played, you know? So I'm just saying it gets into your head, even though you think you're rejecting it. You know, it's. I would say that the anti-blackness has exploded. I mean, it's always been there. But I think in the last 10, 15 years, it's exploded. I mean, because the amount of madness that has hit the airwaves and the television and the movies, I think has, and I think the fact that this madness and this extreme degradation of black people is really evidence of just how far off the mark we've become. Because I think 20 years ago or something, some of this stuff would not have flown. I don't think when I was a young woman, when I was a teenager, I don't think calling people bitches and hoes would have flown with our crowd. I mean, the words were used, but they were only used in anger. They would have never been used as words of affection, not like they are now. But the media has made the abnormal become normal. So I think that over the last 15 years, it's gotten a lot worse. And the fact that black people accept everything in entertainment, and the vast majority ask no questions, I'd say that this campaign has been stepped up and is actually, we're in a worse position psychologically than we were 25 years ago. And that's really dangerous because things around us are changing, and they're changing fast, and they are not changing in favor of people. There's actually becoming a more anti-people society. And for us to be in the state of mind that we're in, we are putting ourselves in extreme danger because we won't even have a defense against anything that comes after us because we already hate each other.
Mm-hmm.
Along with integration, assimilation, interracial dating and mating, and creating better black people, i.e., you know. So, you know, all of this is just anti-blackness on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
We were better off when they wouldn't let us date white people out in the open. We were better off, much better off. But now this whole thing, if you go on any of these so-called black websites that are owned by white people and possibly Jewish people, I don't know who owns them, but I know black people don't own them, all you see constantly is ads promoting interracial dating, particularly for black women now. So I read something the other day, and a couple of black women were on there talking about how they prefer white men. You know, so this is the kind of thing, I mean, this is extreme anti-blackness on steroids when black people are publicly bashing each other. You know, just any excuse to attack each other. And I keep thinking, okay, now we're attacking each other when some stuff goes down. Who are you going to turn to? You think because you're having sex with some white male or some white female or some Asian male or some Asian female, do you think you can run and take cover in their community? Are you crazy? When black people are out here dealing with this racism, you don't see their communities coming rallying around us. So where do you think you're going to go, and who are you going to rely on, and who are you going to turn to when some stuff goes down? I mean, we got to get real with it. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is real life.
Context of white supremacy. I'm going to see how many times I can repeat this during the program. Dr. Welsing, and I'm sure she's said it before, but she said it on her most recent visit this past Thursday, I guess. She said, refraining from name-calling and squabbling with other black people is an exercise in black mental health. I'm just, as I said, I'm going to see how many times I can repeat it during the program, because that's an easy one that everybody could commit to. Easy one. We could all sign on right now. Refraining from name-calling, squabbling with other black people is an exercise in black mental health. Very important. And I just want to also echo a sentiment Pam shared earlier. It's not like, you know, once you know this, you're not going to have any slips. I mean, that anti-blackness thing is thick. I mean, when the deactivate the white chip, she was on the program, I think that anti-blackness is a huge aspect of that white chip. And it's not going to be like, oh, okay, I got it, we're anti-black. I mean, you would be surprised. That anti-blackness is just, it's almost the default behavior for black people. In fact, I would assert anti-blackness is the default behavior for black people. So I would say, if you can just kind of have it in mind that this is something that, you want to be very very conscious of in the way that you talk about, relate to, speak to, conduct yourself with black people, because it creeps out. I see it in everybody, myself first and foremost. It's something that you just kind of have to be on guard about, and you should expect. I was gonna talk about how I see this even non-white people, black people who are less confused about racism, white supremacy. I still see that tendency for the anti-blackness to pop up a lot, but I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything in terms of just kind of laying the groundwork so people have an understanding of what this concept is, at least what we're talking about today with anti-blackness, specifically with other black people, and how white people have groomed us to behave this way. Did you want to add anything else to that, Pam?
Sure. I think that anti-blackness actually began in slavery. The pressures of being under that situation and watching, and it still happens to this day, watching black people who expressly dislike, and openly show disdain for black people is always rewarded. And I'm sure it was rewarded during slavery. I'm sure when black people took up for each other or supported each other or defended each other, they were punished. They may not beat us with a rope or a whip now, but you can see it even to this day, that black people who degrade other black people are rewarded. Black people who disparage other black people are rewarded. Black people who defend other black people, particularly if they defend it with some understanding of white supremacy, they're punished. So I would say that it started, in my opinion, during slavery. So this just shows you how long this training program has been. And I would just say to everybody, myself included, forgive yourself. When you slip up and make a mistake, forgive yourself, move on, pick yourself up, make that a lesson, and try to do better. Because I think part of the problem is even with this show, when people may want to call in and make a comment, they feel like you might say the wrong thing. I feel that way. When Dr. Wellesley and Mr. Fuller come on, I'm real hesitant about calling. But I want to call because I want to show that I want to participate, because I know it's important to participate. And they took their time to show up, so I should take my time to take that risk of sounding silly and let it and communicate. But I would just say that I think we're so afraid of not being perfect, and we're so afraid of making mistakes that we really can't make any progress. Forgive yourself. Just forgive yourself. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to say the word nigger. You're going to have thoughts about niggers. You're going to do all kinds of things. You can't unlearn anything overnight, but that doesn't mean you're not learning. So I would just say to myself as well, you got to forgive yourself. You got to try to use your stumbling as a learning process, because that's what it's going to take. This is not going to be easy, because if it came easy, it probably meant you weren't doing anything. So to have real change, you got to experience growing pains. You got to do a lot of self-revelation. You got to look that person in the mirror. You got to ask yourself, what are you doing to other black people? How are you treating other black people? You got to hear yourself. You got to think about how many times we confront black people for no reason, how many times we get mad at other black people for no good reason, yet white people are causing all this damage and harm. How many times have we gotten as mad at white people as we've gotten at a black person? And I would say probably very seldom. It is so much easier to be angry at black people, in part because it's safer, but also because it's the programming. So I would just say, it started a long time ago, so don't knock yourself because you have it, because, how could you not have it?
Extremely logical. I was going to backtrack really quick to the, I guess, explicit slavery of the chains on us and what have you. I think you were talking about it starting there. And just looking at that environment, and I still see it now, but just so you can get a more explicit understanding, when you're in a position of weakness and everybody around you, all of your family and friends, all the other black people that you're around, they too are in a position of weakness, that anti-blackness is, it's going to spread like wildfire, because you have so many people who are frustrated. You're seeing yourself in a helpless position where you're being abused and violated in the worst way all the time. In fact, the anecdote that you have in the book, we read the better part of it, but about the black couple where a white person breaks into the home and robs and violates them, and that anti-blackness totally destroys their marriage. That white people know that's going to be one of the major results of their system. When black people get frustrated, they're discouraged, disappointed, mad about their situation, weak and helpless to do anything about it. Man, I might not have the ability to do anything to this white man, this white woman, but one of these other slaves on the plantation, I could probably get at them and not get in too much trouble. It's easy. It's easy, and I mean, we've been doing it for centuries now. Just so that we have a better understanding of how that happens. And I mean, I still see that today. When you have black people, non-white people in situations where they're unemployed, underemployed, don't have resources that they need, they're not able to help other black people. You see, excuse me, you see what happened with Troy Davis, helpless to do anything, white people toying with the lives of black people for their evening entertainment. I can understand how you end up being frustrated and disappointment, but it's just our instincts, the easy way. And it's not the constructive way, but it's the easy way that white people have endorsed, encouraged, promoted, the easy way to channel all that frustration. I'm going to find me a black person and get at them hard. I'm going to go upside their head. I'm going to let them know every stupid thing that they've done today, yesterday, last month. I'm going to tee off on them, and just hoping this broadcast we can kind of minimize that tendency. It's just not constructive.
No, it's not.
I also was going to make sure that I point out in terms of black people who become less confused about racism, white supremacy, that anti-blackness, I mean, I still see it. I think, Pam, you were just talking about you black people who they get that understanding or what have you, and the tendency still becomes getting angry with other black people. And I see that all the time, where black people, they become, yes, white supremacy exists, total global system, yes, they got all that, and it still ends up being, as opposed to the problem is white people, I'm gonna stay focused on these white people. It's still just the anti-blackness manifests itself in a different way, as opposed to the explicit, what you heard at the beginning, Little John type ways that it's verbalized. It ends up switching to the reason that white supremacy is still here is because of house niggas like you. The reason white supremacy is here is because of Uncle Tom niggas like you. I mean, it's tons of that. When you talk about quote unquote militant, radical black people, it is astounding the tendency where all of that rage and anger somehow gets diverted from white people off to black people who are not doing this or doing that or whatever the case may be. And what we need to do is get rid of these Uncle Tom ass niggas. That will solve I mean, I see that every day. I see it every day. Just to really emphasize, it's not going to be anti-blackness, got it. Not doing that. Not at all. Talking about something ingrained behavior. When Dr. Kanban says white people have infected us with their racist white supremacist mentalities, they've infected us on a cellular level. That anti-blackness is almost on a cellular level. I mean, it really is the default instinctive behavior is for us to have no problem getting hostile for any reason, no reason at all with another black person. And I mean, you see it's in your face when you got a group of people who are known for bragging about the dozens. We brag about that. Somebody asks you black culture, that should be one of the first things you say, name calling. Not that we're the only ones, but I mean, we brag about that. My whole life I've heard black people brag about that, our ability and the time we invest. And it's not white people. It's not like we're democratic. It's not like, it's open opportunity and we're going to talk bad about everybody. The black people that I know that really enjoy that and the name calling, 90%, 95% of it is directed exclusively at other black people.
That's true. It's almost like, to me, when you say that, I think it's kind of like procrastination. Once you really, it's like putting off the inevitable, putting off the hard task that's ahead. As long as we focus on other black people, we don't have to do anything. The day we start focusing on white people, we got to take it serious. So I think it's somewhat an avoidance of the ugly task ahead, the task that we're so afraid of, and that's confronting our real enemies. And so I think a lot of stuff black people do is simply hiding. We're just hiding. We're hiding from what we really know we have to do. And we do the safe things. And also white people approve of that behavior. So deep down inside, we know that behavior will get us some white validation. Even if no white people in the room, even if no white person ever says anything or pays you a dime, somewhere deep inside, we're getting that white validation. It's like that white chip or that little white traffic cop inside your head that's saying, good job. So on some level, I think we are doing certain things psychologically. It's not just random behavior. It's not just habit. It's serving a purpose. And I think the purpose is procrastination and avoidance of what we really need to do. Because once you start focusing on white people, now the work really starts. That's when the danger starts, at least in our minds. So I think we're just avoiding what we have to realize by now that we're going to have to do. We're going to have to deal with them. And I'm not talking about going out and getting a gun. No, I'm talking about deal with them on a psychological level, on every level, on a sexual level. We're going to have to say no when they want to go to bed with us. That's very hard for some of us because we're so used to obeying white people. We don't even understand that having sex with white people, it's always their idea. And a lot of times it's an implied force that's put upon us. Just like a woman that works in an office and she's got this boss that's harassing her. I'm just saying, when you have a person in a superior position asking you to do something, the gut instinct is to try to appease them or please them. And I think that black people, we don't even understand that this is not consent. We're not having sex consensually with white people because it makes no sense to have sex with people that are mistreating you, who represent your oppression. We're having it's coerced. So I'm just saying a lot of stuff that we're going to have to deal with, it's not about violence. It's about having psychological power. And and we really are trying to avoid that because that makes us very uncomfortable. So I think we hide behind the black bashing, not just out of habit, but out of the fact that it postpones what we have to do.
I know we talked about this before because you said you think this anti-blackness and bashing other black people, it serves a psychological purpose. We've talked about how black people, it makes us feel good when we get to do this. Can you share on that a little bit?
Oh yeah, it's I don't know that I can explain it, but I know I certainly had that experience. It's so messed up. I feel better. I don't feel the same sister. You know what it is? Maybe only way I can explain it is maybe when I bash white people, I have so little power, it's meaningless. But I can bash a black person, and I might feel that I have some power in that situation. So maybe it's a thing of bashing white people almost seems like an exercise in futility. Bashing a black person, it's like it can feel empowering. Maybe because we're at the same level. So maybe it's like a person in the schoolyard who starts to pick on a kid their size or smaller versus a kid that's much bigger. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like I think we feel so powerless when it comes to white people that we just can't get the same sense of satisfaction because we know that our criticisms and words don't really matter. They don't really impact them. But that black person, wow, we can punch their knock their lights out, and it's going to have an impact. We're going to devastate that black person. They're going to feel it. They're going to react to it. We're going to feel that sense of power. I suspect a lot of it's self-hatred, because how can you sit around and talk about nigga this and nigga that and this and that? I mean, come on. Who are you? I mean, who are you? Black people, just like a black person. This is what black people do. I mean, what planet are you on? that you are saying these things and you don't know you're talking about yourself. So I think a lot of it is self-hatred, self-esteem. Maybe low self-esteem is a better word than self-hatred. But it's definitely got something to do with the way we feel about ourselves when we stereotype other black people. So I think it's just so messed up on so many levels that I think Dr. Wellesley might be better at explaining it. But whew, it's a hot mess.
I know. I'm trying to backtrack because when the cow started, I think it was most likely a response to the it was a response to the anti-blackness. When the cow started, I was really not interested in talking to non-white people. I wanted to talk to white people, and I said, because if conflict goes down, if there's a disagreement about something and it gets heated, I would much rather have it with a white person, because that's where the arguments should be. If it's going to be an argument about racism, white supremacy, it should be between non-white people and white people, or between white people and other white people. It should not be non-white people arguing and bickering with other non-white people. I mean, that should never happen. And I'm thinking it was a response to that. And I suspect, just based on what I've seen, just with the radio that has taught me so much about anti-blackness, just attempting to do the radio program. When you go at white people, they can swing back. And I mean, they can swing back hard. You will get to see, oh, wow, there's a major power difference between the damage that white people can inflict and the damage that I can inflict as a non-white person, especially as a black person. You will really get to see, wow, white supremacy and black people are really in a position of weakness under this system, unfortunately. However, I think when it switches, if that white person is not in the picture, you don't have that. It's not as, I think Mr. Fuller, he was talking about that in that clip. You don't really have that. I think we know, consciously, subconsciously, we know black people do not have the same power, do not have the same ability to hurt me like white people. White people, you upset a white person, Lord, that can be your job. You can end up in jail, all of the above. I mean, woof, they can do a variety of damage. It can get to be to the point where you might have to switch. I mean, you might not even be able to stop them if they get rolling. They're really upset about what you have done. It could cost you your life, everything. With other non-white people, I think we know, consciously, subconsciously, I'm dealing with someone who's in a pretty weak position. So as Mr. Fuller, I just want a little bit of trouble. I don't want a whole lot of trouble getting on you. I just want a little bit of, I think I could probably handle this other nigga. So I'm just going to stick to that. Like, man.
Yeah. Like in the schoolyard, these kids are a little smaller than me. I'm not worried about getting beat up. Or at least with the same size. I got a fair shot, but I'm not going to tackle that guy that's 5 feet 5 inches taller than me and 100 pounds heavier, because he could crush me. So I think but a lot of it's learned behavior. We don't do it because we're bad people. We do it because we've been put in a situation where that's the brain trash and the psychological damage has been extreme, and it manifests itself in every single phase of our life. I had oh my goodness, I mean, it's just one thing that was included in book number 2, Black Love and the Revolutionary Act, were the slave traditions, and slave traditions are strictly and a lot of just anti-blackness, like the words that black people use. I mean, the things that we say, like saying your black ugly self. Why do black and ugly seem to be like supporting terms? White people don't say your white ugly self. So it's just built into our language. But again, the problem is white people. We did not create this language. We did not create these conditions. We did not create this programming. So the thing is important to remember where it started. If you want to be mad at somebody, be mad at them. I'm not saying go out and slap anybody, but be mad at them. I mean, this is the root core source of the problem. Not that the other victim is not the problem. The core problem is white supremacy, and the white supremacy wouldn't exist without white people. So white people are the problem. You know, it's not a system. I think one of your guests, white guests, Winfrey Winfrey, she talked about, you know, it's important to focus on the system. I forget exactly what she said. But no, you can focus on the system, sure, but you need to focus on the people, because the people are the system. The system is the people. There's no independent system that's supporting itself. So the problem is white supremacy, but the real problem is white people. And you can't get around that.
Yeah, I want to make sure I repeat that phrase again from Dr. Welsing. Refraining from name-calling and squabbling with other black people is an exercise in black mental health. Just to see how many times I can get it in. I definitely want to make sure we cover suggestions on how to deal with the anti-blackness from other black people, because I think that has got to be an integral aspect of your counter-racism code, because it's unfortunate, but you're most likely going to be around a lot of confused victims who don't understand racism, white supremacy, and, you know, the anti-blackness is definitely going to shine through easy if you're confused about what's happening on the planet. And even amongst non-white people who are informed, who are less confused about white supremacy, that anti-blackness is still there. But before I get to the suggestions, I think it's super important. The language is every aspect of white people's system reinforces that anti-blackness. The language is structured. You talk about how ugly and black, it almost seems natural, them flowing together. The language, if you look at the terms, why I said the word fair, big time supporting anti-blackness. There's so many of those. Down in the mud, it was a dark, Mr. Fuller has tons of those in the word guide. Just when you are in an environment where words are being used in a way to constantly denigrate darkness, blackness, and to uplift, deify, praise whiteness, it's going to really become instinctual, as I said. It really is, when everyone is using words in a manner that reinforces anti-blackness, and it's really something you got to be on the ball about. That's why I said fair. You watch out for that word and some of the other terms that people use. Enlighten, watch out for that. And it can be tough because you don't want to be like the police, jumping on people. You just said fair. You don't want to do that, but it's important. It's important. It really is another aspect of supporting that anti-black thought, perception, and really just trying to do everything you can. As I said, just trying to be conscious. You're going to make slips. You're going to make, all of us, myself, going to make some errors, but just trying to be as conscious as you can of ways that you can weed that out. If I can just do little things. If I'm not, I won't say fair anymore. I'm not going to say it's a dark day anymore. I'm not going to say it's down in the mud. I'm not going to say, oh, he's a shady character. I'm not going to say that anymore. I'm going to try as many of those little phrases and things as I possibly can. When I hear myself saying them, I'm going to edit that out, and perhaps other people, if, they're comfortable with it and I can find a codified way to do it where it's not like I'm attacking and criticizing, but just, you did say fair. I want to be careful about that. Right. Try to do that as well, because, it's important. It really does have a big impact on the way you think, and it's subtle because I don't think most people really think about the way that they use words. So it has a really big impact in a way that I think a lot of people just are not aware of. But suggestions, well, I guess that would be one right there. Suggestions on how to combat anti-blackness. Do you have some suggestions you can offer to listeners?
Suggestions. A couple off the top of my head would be no sex with white people. And it's important. I'm not just saying that. I know you're not just saying that. You can't be close to someone whose whole culture is built around anti-blackness and think that you're not going to absorb it by osmosis. It's an impossibility. So I would say no, I would say definitely sexual intercourse with white people. That suggestion would be at the top of the list. Following closely behind that is socializing with white people. That should not, in my opinion, people can have a right to their own opinion. In my opinion, the socialization thing is the same thing. You're going to absorb the anti-blackness from white people by socializing with them, because you're going to, it's just not logical to think that that's not going to rub off on you. And if you think that you're around white people who are not anti-black, then that's confusion right there. I mean, it's built into their culture. It's built into, you could meet a person that thinks they're a nice person. You stick around them long enough, you're going to see the anti-blackness. So if you're going to socialize with them, you're going to absorb that. And I would say, so sex, number one, no sex. Number one, no sex. Number two, limit the amount of time you spend around white people. And that, to me, would mean the socialization probably just shouldn't happen. 3, be aware of the words that you use and be conscious of it. 4, try to avoid squabbling with black people over nothing most of the time. If you can't get along with somebody, minimize contact, to minimize conflict. One last one that I would add, and I'm sure there's a million that can be said, but one thing is forgive yourself. When you stumble and fall, you make a mistake, just like the Alcoholics Anonymous, try to make amends. If you damage someone, if you insult someone, if you're unfair to someone and been cruel to someone, a black person, apologize. Just admit that you made a mistake. Just explain to them what you're trying to do. You might actually have a convert. Say, I shouldn't attack you, it's part of my anti-blackness. Well, what are they going to say? What are you talking about, anti-blackness? And then you can explain it. So use your mistakes as a tool that you can maybe teach somebody else, or at the very least you can reinforce it. So I would say forgive yourself. And the last one, make amends. Whatever you're doing, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to do the wrong thing. Just own up to it. Oh, the last one, maybe this should be the first one, is that be honest. Be honest. When we're looking at other black people, we have negative thoughts. One thing that bothered me was my sister said this, and I was like, man, I can't believe she said it, because I had the same thought. She didn't say it exactly this way, but what she said was, have you ever looked at another black woman and thought, bitch?
And good gosh. Woo!
And I said, yeah, all the time. For example, I'm driving behind a black woman. Automatically, something negative comes into my mind. I was like, I couldn't believe she's, it just blew me away, because it was like, wow, I didn't even want to face the fact that I was doing it. So I'm just saying, you're going to have these thoughts, and I think a lot of that came out. Honestly, I don't think I thought that way 20 years ago. I think with the advent of this rap music, with the advent of all this negative language, with the acceptability of negative language, with black women being so degraded, with black women being called bitch like it's our natural name, I think it's a natural outcome, a byproduct of this negative, hostile, hateful language toward black women. And then I said, well, dang, if I'm thinking that and I'm a black woman, what are other people thinking when they see me? What are other people thinking when they're driving behind me? So if I'm thinking it, and, I ain't totally crazy. So what are crazy people thinking? So I'm just saying, I think that you got to think about how it impacts our relationships. Black people coming together, male and female, just riddled with anti-blackness. Not a surprise that a lot of our relationships don't work out. Again, the problem isn't being black. The problem isn't having dark, beautiful skin. The problem isn't being born of African blood. The problem is white people. But I would just say, be honest, forgive yourself. I mean, if you can't do nothing else, forgive yourself. But forgiving yourself means you got to make amends and you got to try to do better. Ain't no point talking about, well, I ain't perfect. And then keep on doing the same stuff, So it's important to forgive ourselves, but only in the sense of I'm trying to do better. And the thing is, I think we can unlearn this. I don't think it's imprinted on our DNA to the extent that I don't think it's natural for us to be this way. So I think anything that's unnatural, an organism will try to correct that if it's given its opportunity. So I think that we can correct it. White people can't correct it. I don't know what's wrong with them. I don't know what's in their organisms. I suspect what there is permanently implanted. But we can unlearn this because this was taught to us. We had to be taught this. So this does not come naturally to black people. This was a systematic brain trashing. So if we can learn this, we can unlearn this. And I would suggest we do it ASAP because this is no joke what's going on out here. And they're spreading this anti-blackness all over the planet. So if everybody else is going to be anti-black, we need to be pro-black.
Context of white supremacy, the address for, you have to forget, I hate doing programs when I'm sick because I go back and I listen and I sound sick and I hate sounding sick on the program, but hopefully, the content will be great, and Pam shared she sounds good, so it'll be good. I would suggest getting a pen, not because I think, well, I guess, yeah, I would suggest getting a pen because I think some of my codified strategies are really solid, and I have some evidence. The evidence is that we are about a hair away from doing our 500th program, and I can tell you, man, if I was about, getting at black people, I do not think we would have got to 500. We might not get there now. We're not there yet, but I don't think it would have been possible to do this many programs. In fact, so yeah, get the pen. Okay. First suggestion, be courteous. Really make an effort. And I have to say that because I'm not a nice person. I have said that repeatedly. I've told Justice, because I name call her. I told Tater Pie, and I name call her. And Tater Pie, she made one of the Facebook pages. She made the logo. She has been like, all-star investor forever for the cows. And I name call her all the time. Justice as well. Like, I was sick. She brought me tea and soup. Like, nobody brings me anything. She got me tea and soup. And I name call her all the time, too. So I'm not a nice person. I have been extraordinarily victimized. And I'm not a nice person. And really, there's no incentive for me to be a nice person because of white supremacy. People are going to mistreat you. You just got to buckle up and prepare for that. So, since I'm not a nice person, I just say, okay, I'm going to be businesslike. When it's racism time, I'm going to be courteous. I'm going to make sure I'm as courteous as I can be to black people. And I do not always do well, but I really have that in the forefront of my mind. Man, if you want evidence and you want to listen to some programs, Dr. Eddie Moore Jr., the first time, you can really listen to both of them, but the first, cowbell should be ringing. Woo! Cowbell should be ringing. Dr. Eddie Moore Jr., black male, founder of the White Privilege Conference. He's married to an admitted racist. I did not want to have him on the program at all. Like, I met him. I didn't even want to talk to him. I was trying to avoid him. Tim Wise was in the building and Dr. Moore was in the building. I had nothing to say to Dr. Moore. It was get out of the way. Where is Timothy? Timothy, let's do this program. That's how the first program happened. That June program, bam, move Dr. Where is Timothy? Like, that's huge because you're focused on the problem. I think matter of fact, the only reason that program happened, Dr. Moore coming on the program, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. I talked to her. I think this was like the first time and I didn't even have a phone then. This was the first time I ever called her, and she answered the phone. And I was kind of stunned, like, oh, man, you talk about nerfs. Like, oh, no, I got to talk. Like, okay. We talked for almost 2 hours. And I was telling her, oh, my gosh, the White Privilege Conference is headed by a black male. He's married to an admitted racist. She spilled her coffee, like, man. And she was just like, are you serious? She was like, oh, no, you got to share that with black people. Black people need to know that. And I was like, man, I don't want to talk to him. I like talking to white people. I'm about staying focused on the problem. And she was like, I understand all that. No, black people need to know this. This is important. The person who is, quote, unquote, in charge is married to an admitted racist. Are you serious? And this is supposed to be serious about racism? No, you need to get him on the program. And oh my God, I was like, I don't want to do it. It's going to be conflict. I don't agree with that. And I'm going to say something like, I really fought her about doing it. And she was like, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. You're professional. It's not about arguing. It's just about having honest dialogue. And that program, not only did that program happen, I got invited to the White Privilege Conference. I got to bring a guest to the White Privilege Conference for a week. Man, whew. At any rate, be as courteous as you possibly can. I guess I'm saying I was very courteous on that program. I think if you go back and listen to it, you can judge for yourself. But, I mean, we talked about everything. We spent about a good half hour on him being sexually involved with a racist and me letting him know how I felt. And there wasn't a brawl. There was no cursing. Be courteous. It really has an impact. It's huge. It really is. It's not about personal. It's just business. You know, same way when I go to the bank, you go to the bank, you're trying to get a loan. It's just business. It's not that you love these people. It's just, hey, I'm trying to have a constructive result. Have that in mind. I'm being courteous because I'm trying to have a constructive result. Number 2. And this is, man, write this down. Bold print, highlight, write this down. The attitude should be, especially if you're talking to a non-white person, and I'll tell you truthfully, I use this with everybody, white people and non-white people, but especially if it's a black person, the attitude should be, what can I use? And when I say that, I mean, if I'm listening to Neely Fuller Jr., if I'm listening to Pam, if I'm listening to Edward Williams, if I'm listening to Tater Pie, Justice, whomever, what is this person saying that I can use? Not, what did that dumbass nigga say? Man, what is the number? No, that's not and especially with another victim, like that is embarrassing. That is pitiful that that's the approach we take with a myriad. Man, I'm having to struggle to be courteous right now. When I look at the page sometimes and see people, they listen to a program and all they have is negative feedback if it's a non-white person. Man, that is ridiculous. You should just expect if it's a non-white person, they're probably confused, heavily victimized. What can I use? That's it. If the person is confused, well, maybe I can figure out why they're confused. What is it that's contributing to this person's victimization? I'm just trying to learn. That's it. I'm not trying to put my finger in another black person's face to let them know. This is I'm not trying to let every black person know what a fuck up you are. That's not the goal at all. That's not constructive at all. I see that on the Facebook. That's why I said I have total disdain for that. People that just sit around and comment when it's a non-white person on the program and they want to talk about how dumb and ignorant that non-white person was. I have total disdain for that. That's not going to solve this problem. It's just another form of anti-blackness. That's exactly what I see it as. The attitude should be, what can I use that's constructive? And I'm not saying I'm perfect at this, but that really is the approach that I take. And I can tell you, you have an example right here. Now, if I didn't take this approach with Pam, man, it could have just been, I'm going to bring Pam on the program to embarrass her. We'll just talk about, did you see what she said about Tim Wise? Did you see? It could have just been that, the whole program. It could have just been a total clown show. This is, she's totally retarded. Look at this dumbass nigga. Ha, ha, ha. Play my Tim Wise. I could have had a fool on that show. I totally could have had Pam. Am I being truthful?
Yeah. I got you.
I don't think we took that. Did you feel like we took that approach?
Took the approach that you just described?
Yes, ma'am.
No.
What can I use? I see this, wow, this person does have a lot of I see a lot here that I can use. I don't agree with everything, but that's the case for everybody. There's nobody I could name that I agree with everything that they say. Not a person. Nobody. Neely Fuller Jr., obviously I do not agree. Every white person is a racist. That's a major disagreement, but there's so much I can use. Why am I going to bring Mr. Fuller here? Why am I going to bring an 80-year-old victim to argue about that? I know people, that's what they want to do. Look forward for the opportunity for Mr. 80-year-old victim. I look forward to the chance to call in and let him know what a dumbass nigger he is. I've heard that multiple times. Dr. Welsing, I've heard that. Why would I look forward to the opportunity to just call out faults in another, and I mean, I guarantee there's no non-white person on the planet that can stand up, hey, I'm flawless. My counter-racist, there's nobody that can stand up to that scrutiny. So why are you looking for that opportunity to call out another victim? It's total anti-blackness. What can I use? That's the approach. If it's a non-white, now I'm telling you, I take that with everybody because I've just concluded white people are going to be racist. You just got to expect that. That's not a surprise, whatever. If they're what can I use? But I definitely take that approach with non-white people. I will give some examples, and then I'll see if Pam has some thoughts or other suggestions, and I'll give a few more. I have seen this, even non-white people who say that they're informed about racism, white supremacy. You want to talk about the comments. This is what I mean. I have total disdain for those comments. Total. I don't care what you, and I'll get to that later because that's another suggestion. I have total disdain for those comments. And if you want a really beautiful example of the disdain that I have for those comments, this was the proverbial straw that broke the deal. I don't remember what program it was. Some program in September 2010. A non-white female called the program, which happens frequently. A non-white female called the program, shared her views. A listener thought that this non-white female was Cree and went to town in the comments section. Cree, you dumbass nigga, what are you talking about? You don't know anything. Wrote this long paragraph about how dumb and ignorant Cree is. Cree didn't even call the show. The straw that broke the camel's back. I'm going to say it again just to let you, I don't care what you have to say in the comments section. That's not going to solve this problem. Whether you like what they said, whether you don't like what they said, writing 8,000 comments on Facebook is not doing anything to end white supremacy, I don't think. Now, if that's not true, we'll see. But I'm taking the position that's not going to cut it. We're going to need a lot more than that. At any rate, I'm saying the example that I just used is beautiful for a myriad of reasons. It ended constructively. When I saw that, I deleted the comment. I contacted the person privately to let them know, you made an error. Cree was not on that program. You should call to apologize. Contact her to apologize immediately. I went on the program the following day to announce that this had happened and to announce my disdain for comments and to let people know, please refrain from commenting on the page ever. Don't write anything. And I think people stuck to that for the most part. Some people didn't, which you expect, and I used my delete button. Beautiful story. The person did contact Cree to apologize. It was accepted, and we moved forward. It's exactly what Pam said. You're going to make errors. We make mistakes. That anti-blackness is thick, man. I'm telling you, we wait. It feels good. We're looking for the opportunity to let that nigga know you ain't shit. It's your fault we're in this. We are looking for that opportunity. It's not going to cut it. It's pitiful and embarrassing. I have some other examples, but I'll stop there. Did you have some other examples or any thoughts, Pam?
You on a roll. Keep going. I'm just still taking that down about the constructive thing. I don't have anything right this minute.
Okay. Now I will also. This isn't really I guess it's not a suggestion. It's just a comment. I will say that after the blackout from this year, I felt the change in myself. Like, I felt a notable difference. Like, I would see black people and be like, yay, a black person. And I never said that before. Like, I left Atlanta because there was too many confused black people. Like, that's how I ended up in Washington State. But I was seeing black people. I said it repeatedly. Yay, black people. Like, I feel a difference. I feel much better about black people. I think exactly what Pam said. I think this can be corrected. All this can be, tidied up. I think it's not natural to feel this way about other black people. It's total white people to blame. It can be corrected, and I see that difference. I don't know if it was the blackout here in a lot of black people. I think we had more constructive, less confused black people on the program in August, I think. Anyway, I think it was great. Okay. Other suggestions. I'm going to say it again before I get to the next suggestion. It is an exercise in black mental health to refrain from name-calling and squabbling with other black people. Okay. You got to expect, in that example that I used, you got to expect that there's going to be a lot of anti-blackness, period. I mean, you really got to, just go ahead and factor that in, Doing this program has taught me that all the way through. Man, you got to factor that in. I've had it happen so many times. Non-white people emailed or contacted, "Oh, I love the cows. It's the greatest thing ever." And the next day, you say one thing that they don't. What? That dumbass nigga Gus. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. What? This is the worst program. And Gus, you know what? You are about the dumbest. In an instant, it does not take much at all. You really just got to prepare for that. You can't take it personal. Just chalk that. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do. Anti-blackness. I go listen to Neely Fuller. That helps me deal with all that. I'll call Mr. Fuller or what have you. And he's like, yeah, that is, you got to expect that. White people have done a really good job. It's astounding. Part of the way that I factor that in, right, about, I need, hang on 1 second. Okay, part of the way that I factor that in, I don't put my validation on what people have to say about my counter-racist effort. That's why I say it with pride. I say it with pride. If you like the program, so what? If you don't like the program, so what? The goal is replace white supremacy with justice as soon as possible, period. And if you take that approach and you really stick to commit, whatever it, either way, people saying that they love it and blah, 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 they hate it, just ignore, and particularly if it's non-white people, because we have the worst peanut gallery on the planet. Man, it's, I used to do spoken word, right, in addition to working in the comedy club, so I was in a lot of environments where black people were the majority of the audience. Man, performing in front of black people is terrifying. Man, the Apollo, we rejoice in ridiculing black people that we don't think are up to snuff. We have the worst, that anti-black, when you get in an environment where anti-blackness can be encouraged, man, at any rate, so you just got to expect that. If you're, going to work against racism, white supremacy, that Huey P. Newton quote, I said it the other day. It's in the Spike Lee documentary, a Huey P. Newton story. It's based on Huey P. Newton's life. And he says, if you work against racism, white supremacy, you're going to upset a whole lot of white people and a whole lot of black people. You just got to prepare for that. Family members, friends, quote unquote, family members. You start working against these white people, their fear is going to kick in because they know, man, if they get mad at you, this could have ramifications for me. You just got to factor all that in.
I did have a couple of suggestions. I was thinking of while you were talking.
Sorry about that. I suspect racist man and racist woman interfered. The recording of this should be pristine. It was just the TalkShoe. I told you TalkShoe is like the worst site ever. But the recording should be cool, and we are back live. Everybody can hear. Pam, you said you have suggestions?
Yeah, as you were talking, I was thinking, I saw a commercial earlier today for Everybody Hates Chris. And I think, it may to some people sound like a harmless title for a show, but think about it. What kind of show title? Everybody Hates Chris. Everybody hates this little black boy. They built a whole sitcom around mistreating this little black boy. So I think I would say be mindful of the type of entertainment you expose your mind to and your children. It is not normal to have a show that is built around mistreating a black person. to the degree where you would say everybody hates Chris, that's sick. Okay, another one is be mindful of the type of recreation you engage in and the type of people you spend time with. Granted, all black people are victims, but you got to really be mindful of what type of effect that victim is having on you. You know, so if you were around somebody who is doing a lot of negative things, saying a lot of negative things about black people, you might have to think twice about how much time you want to spend around that person. Like Gus said, you can't be the police, but you can control what you do recreationally. I would say also be mindful of the words you use when describing other black people. Just be aware of it. You know, a lot of stuff comes out of us automatically. Just be aware of it. You know, I stopped some people in a break area one time, and thank goodness nobody was feeling particularly violent or angry that morning, but they were in there and they were talking about some actor, I forget his name, some young black male actor, dark-skinned, and they're saying he looked like a gorilla. Now, this young black male actor is a handsome young man. I mean, he plays the leading man, I think, in the movie with, I can't think of her name, but he played this real sexy young black male who was, two can play that game. I can't think of his name. And they were telling me he's gorilla. So I asked him, I said, well, I just felt like it. So I just asked him, I said, why are you saying he's a gorilla? Why are you saying this, talking about black people the same way white people talk about black people? And that was the question I asked them. There was about 5 of them in there. And they were all black people, 40, 50 years old, and they just looked at me. And they didn't get mad, but they just looked at me. And so the conversation shifted to something else. But we got to be careful. You call them black people gorillas. I mean, what kind of, you know, anyway, compliment, you know, I think it's important. When Gus said be courteous, I think part of being courteous is being complimentary. For example, if you see a black person and they're doing something really good or they got something really nice on, compliment them. You know, I think we have to get used to we have to make a practice of being nice to each other. You know, I think it's important, compliment other black people's hair. I told this black female woman, real dark skin, but to me she was gorgeous. And I'm not a homosexual, but she was gorgeous to me. But I knew that she was not the type of black woman that would have gotten on television. She would not have been recognized as a beautiful woman because she was real dark, and she was very full-figured. But I looked at her, and I saw this beautiful, smooth, like butter, dark skin. I mean, just as smooth and pretty as it could be. And usually I see that kind of skin on real dark people. Anyway, so I said, I had spoken to her. I didn't really know her, but I had spoken to her on occasions. And I told her, I took a chance, and I told her, I said, you know, you have the prettiest skin. It's so smooth and pretty. And she looked at me kind of surprised. She said, but it's dark. I said, damn. And then I went on to say, yeah, it's dark, but you got to understand, your darkness is original. I'm lighter than you, and I'm just a dilution of what you are. I said, you know, you're genetically powerful. I mean, your genetics are what the original people had, you know. And so I just talked to her for a minute and stuff, and she kind of smiled. And next time she saw me, she smiled. And so I'm just saying, you know, I took a leap because I didn't want to come across like I was, you know, a lesbian or anything. So I took that chance, but I don't think she thought I was because I pretty much, you know, I wasn't leering at her and I wasn't being suggestive. I just said, you got pretty smooth skin. And I said, we got to start complimenting people. And I would say to brothers, you know, as far as the sisters go, you know, it's really, really, really beneficial. But you got to be sincere. You can't just pinpoint somebody because you think it's politically correct. We have to learn to develop some sincerity about praising each other, about complimenting each other. It's got to come from the heart. And the best way it is, we got to start seeing black people through our own authentic eyes. Stop seeing black people through these white eyes. And that's going to take a lot of work, but it can be done. And so we got to give compliments, I think, and praise for things that are good. You see a sister with natural hair. You see a brother with natural hair. Say, man, your hair is really sharp. And you might be surprised. That person might not have gotten a compliment for the whole month. They might not have been told anything positive about themselves for the whole month. Black women, again, we need to compliment brothers. You know, we see brothers doing the right thing, brothers being courteous, brothers being respectful, brothers taking care of their children, being good fathers. We need to compliment each other. But it's got to be sincere. You know, it's got to be coming from a place where you really mean it. Because if you're insincere, that's worse than not doing it at all. So I would just say we have to start seeing good in each other. There's a lot of black men out here that are good fathers, and I know some. I mean, they are excellent fathers. They never hear that. They never hear that black men are good fathers. You know, there's sisters out here that's trying to wear their hair natural, trying to do, trying to be constructive, trying to be more self-respecting. You know, a compliment could go a long way. I'm just saying, we got to be nicer to each other. And I think that could spread like wildfire. And that's the one thing white people can't lock you up for. They can lock me up for talking whatever I'm talking or writing, but they can't lock me up for complimenting a black person. Even they can't stop that. So a lot of things we can do doesn't even cost any money, no real effort. So those were just some of the suggestions that I had.
Right on. I'll say it again. Refraining from name-calling and squabbling with other black people is an exercise in black mental health. This is a side. It's directly related to the discussion, but it's just a quick side note. The actor in the film Two Can Play That Game is Maurice Chestnut.
Right, that's who it was. I couldn't think of his name. Nice looking brother.
I agree.
Calling him a gorilla. I'm sorry, because he was dark. I mean, that's just madness. But again, it's victimization.
Absolutely. And just, I was thinking of the racist programming and the victimization that he's been, and it's really as part of the way that we are groomed to be anti-black and just standard racist programming. Maurice Chestnut, he's also in Boys in the Hood, and he dies in Boys in the Hood, violently dies in Boys in the Hood. His counterpart in that film, Cuba Gooding Jr., oh, there would be cowbell rings. Oh. Yeah. Anyway, his counterpart, Cuba Gooding Jr., is significantly lighter. Maurice Chestnut is a dark black male, very handsome. Cuba Gooding Jr. is significantly lighter. Cuba Gooding Jr. lives in that film. So you're getting the programming even right there. The darker male is the one who is violently killed by other black people. The lighter black male gets the girl, he lives. You're getting the program all the time. That film got nominated for an Academy Award. Black people being anti-black, black people killing other black people, whole way through the film. Those films are huge. Even Tupac Shakur, someone who worked against racism, white supremacy, and seemed to be a little bit less confused. I'm cautious around him because I know too many black people, way too many black people. When they connect to Tupac, it is Juice, the film. And his character in that, I mean, you talk about anti-blackness. He's, going through the film, laughing and joking, killing the black people that he grew up with, his friends. I hear way too many black people. That's their connection to Tupac. Man, he had heart and juice. That film is a celebration of anti-blackness. At any rate, Boys in the Hood, and also just a pattern. Again, 909 talks about that, paying attention to patterns. Also, Maurice Chestnut, he was in, I think, The Best Man, the wedding film. Nia Long is in it. Who else is? Terrence Howard, Maurice Chestnut. Hope people know what I'm talking about. Maurice Chestnut is in this film, and he is athlete. He gets angry and beats up the other character. Like, they still kind of make him out to be his thug complex. He's having sexual intercourse with all these females. They still put him in the regular, stereotypical racist role for a black person. He's got to be this athlete, sex mongrel who can not control himself and is beating up other black people. Just that, and that is how you end up with black people saying, "Oh, this guy's a gorilla."
Mm-hmm. I say add something.
That should be.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you think about it, if the dark-skinned people, particularly dark-skinned black males, are always being portrayed negatively and being mistreated in very brutal fashion, it also reinforces anti-blackness. Because who wants to associate themselves with a person that's receiving maximum victimization? And if you look at most of the movies and stuff, the lighter skinned guy, if he is, he's always more intelligent, more educated. The darker skinned guy, like Flavor Flav, I think he was in some short-lived comedy sitcom Crapola, and he was some ignoramus, and he had a lighter skinned brother. I think that was affluent and integrated. They never do it the other way around. If you ever noticed that, the darker skinned woman or man is always the least educated, always the least sophisticated, always the most ignorant. And the lighter skinned person is always the most. Even in the show Girlfriends, that black sitcom, the lighter skinned female, the biracial female had the two of them. They're not biracial, but anyway, the ones that they would call so-called biracial. They were both educated. One was a lawyer. The other one, Lynn, she had 1 million degrees. And then the brown-skinned sister, she was trying to get her degree. And then the darker-skinned sister was born on a farm. So that color stratus is always there. And if you think about the black men who wind up getting shot by the police, I can't remember too many light-skinned black males getting shot unarmed. I'm sure there are some, but I would bet the vast majority of black males that get murdered, let's be for real, they got murdered by the police, are usually brown and dark-skinned black males. So when you see that whole pattern emerging where black people are always being denigrated, and it gets into your mind, you don't want to associate yourself with that. So that breeds another form of anti-blackness.
I totally agree. I was reminded of Norm Stamper, white man. He's the author of Breaking Rank. He's former chief of police in Seattle. He was on the program in November of 2009, and he wrote in his book, and he discussed it on the program. He said that he is convinced, and he's not going to change his mind. White people are afraid of black people, in particular black males, and the darker they are, the more afraid they are. And he was given that in the context of explaining how you end up with Mark Duggan, Kenneth Harding Jr., endless list, Omar Thornton, who's a dark black male. That's how you end up with that. Norm Stamper, he was November 2009. It's in the archives.
And they always think they're huge. They always think these dark men are huge. They take on these monumental proportions. He was a huge black man.
Yeah. Dr. Welsing moment. I will check the phone lines. I guess today I will have to make an exception. I'm normally cool if people just want to listen, but I don't know if my voice if I have to do a lot of talking for the whole program. I don't know if my voice will do that. So it would be helpful if I don't have to do lots of talking. So if you have questions or comments, you can dial in. It's *8 on the TalkShoe line and *6 on the FreeHD line. I had a few other suggestions, and then I'll see if Pam has anything, and I'll check the phone line. And I think Pam shared this one. I'm just agreeing and underlining, very important. Minimizing contact, I think, is a really great strategy. I think when you're truthful about, hey, I am anti-black. I've been groomed to be anti-black. Black people in general are anti-black. Having that in mind, I'm going to monitor my contact. I'm really going to make sure that the people that I'm around, we're having constructive interactions, conflict is not being generated. Even people where I feel like if I'm around them and they have a tendency to criticize me or other black people, I tend to, that's something I don't want to really be around. I don't want to be around black people criticizing other black people, even if it's not on a radio program, even private conversations. I don't think that's constructive. It's just a really bad habit to be in. If they're going to be criticisms, it should be white people. So I'm really careful about my contact with that. I know if I'm not in good space, if I don't think I'm in a position where I can be courteous and complimentary to black people, hey, I will be by myself today. I will get some reading done or whatever. There's a lot you can do on your own. So if you are still trying to figure out how you can function best around non-white people, and particularly confused victims, because I can tell you, you're going to be around a lot of non-white people who are going to get on your nerves. I mean, that's a direct result of white people. When you got people in a weak position and they're frustrated and having so many problems, yes, they're going to get on your nerves. And I've had tons of people who said they're just trying to figure out how they can be around other non-white people, especially non-white people who are more confused, and not have it get to conflict. Really watch your contact.
Gus, just to let you know, my TalkShoe connection keeps dropping out. Just to let you know.
Okay.
I don't know
But you mean on the computer?
I just brought I had the page up, and it's dropped out, and I'm having trouble getting it back. So I don't know if anybody else is being affected or not. Okay.
I will open the chat room briefly and make sure folks. Okay. Can you all hear the people that are on TalkShoe? Chat room should be open. Just checking to make sure folks can hear. Chat room should be. Oh, maybe they can't hear. Maybe that's why they're not. Oh, it's registering on the switchboard. That would be really strange. Oh, I got a yes. Thank you. Okay.
Maybe it's my network. Yeah.
Okay, a couple people they're saying they can hear. Okay, groovy. Yeah, it could be, like I said, it's really, that's why I advise people, like I think the 760 if you want to call. Okay, so I think someone else said that they did get dropped a couple times. Yeah, a couple people said they lost connection. They got dropped a couple times, but they're back in now, I guess. So, yeah, I told you, TalkShoe is terrible. That's why I recommend folks to check the 760 line if you call in, because I think that line tends to be more stable and it's pretty clear. I take that recording and use it at TalkShoe. So, yeah, if you dial in, that might be the better line to use. That number is 760 569 7676, and the code is 564 943 pound. And it's that number is in the description. So right on. But yeah, minimizing contact. And just monitoring your contact, the non-white people that you're around. One thing that I use, and I did this, I was very confused about white supremacy. This was before I even started studying, but this was as a result of working in that comedy club. I mean, you talk about, again, environments where anti-blackness is encouraged and promoted. Oh, Lord. What I did, and I mean, this was just, codification out of necessity. I minimized the amount of talking that I did. And that I have found is very constructive. Unless people are asking you a question directly, do not feel compelled to talk. That is astronomically effective. It's very hard to get into conflict with somebody who is not talking. I employ that. My mute button is used regularly on the program, particularly once we hit the call section. I mean, people have said, you let people call in and just say anything. I'm not looking to pick arguments with non-white people. They say what they say, whatever. Do not feel compelled to talk, period. I mean, people, if they want to talk, and I have found that works really well, because I found that particularly with black people, we're told to shut up so often and degraded. When you're around somebody that does not talk, whoa, man, you are the coolest person ever. I could just talk and you don't interrupt me and call me names. Man, if you want to win friends and influence, just try being quiet around black people. Let them, and ask questions like, be interested, be paying attention. You will pick up friends left and, I won't say friends. You will definitely have people who want your company. They will look forward to chatting it up with you. Don't feel compelled to talk. And it really does. It really keeps that conflict down. Even if they say stuff that I don't agree with, whatever. I would also say you got to keep in mind with that anti-blackness, you're probably going to have to take some hits. Like even with all this and codifying, just, have that in mind. You're still probably going to have some times where black people, say something snide to you, say something rude to you. It's probably still going to happen a lot more than you would like it to. And you just got to factor that in. I'm not always A+ at that, but, I would say it's A+ codification. This is a victim. Going to let that slide. Minimize contact. I'm definitely not saying, spend a lot of time around people who are rude to you, discourteous, critical of you. Hey, I minimize contact with those folks. But I definitely say, hey, just because a black person says something rude to me, does something that I think is discourteous or incorrect, that just, if I'm really on my counter-racist game, I exercise my patience. I call Mr. Fuller. This person is confused. White people has done a good job. Let's get a white person on the program so we can go to town. That's the way that I try to redirect that. I don't always succeed. And again, if you want an example, that second program with Dick Gregory. A lot of opportunities to get angry. And if you want a comparison, there's not a single hand up on the switchboard right now. I think there are about an equal number of callers, roughly 20 callers both times. Not a single hand up. When Dick Gregory was on the program the second time and shared his views on racism, white supremacy, the phone lines lit up with what I suspect non-white people who wanted to get their 2 cents in about what a dumb-ass nigger Dick Gregory is. I knew it happened from the first time, because it happened the first time he was on the program. And I remember having to verbalize, please, can we have non-Dick Gregory related commentary? If I can request a favor, I think Pam remembers this. We were talking about this before the program. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm always the best at this. Nobody is, perfected counter racism. That's why we still got this problem. But really resist that urge. And that's what I really try to be careful about. The way I really think we should make a better effort at least equalizing the way we conduct ourselves with white people and non-white people. And what I mean when I say that, there are tons of examples, but when a white person is around and it's sir, and we're very thoughtful about the way that we interact, and then it switches and it's non-white people, and we have a total different mentality where the animosity and the hostility can run free, man, that is really incorrect. Like when I see non-white people who can be, who can talk to white people in a courteous manner about racism, but then if it's a non-white person, it can switch and get really hostile easily. Like, really, if anything, it should be the other way around. We should really have a lot of patience with victims. If you understand racism, white supremacy, you understand the job that white people have done to us. If you really understand racism, white supremacy, you should understand this is the product, the way that we behave, the way we interact with each other, the non-constructive way that we function. This is a product of what racist woman and racist man have been doing to us for centuries. This is really not even a reflection of this person. This is a reflection of unbelievable abuse and molestation. Worldwide. Really have that in mind. Like I said, I'm not really a nice person, but just having that understanding of what has been done to us, I keep that in mind. That helps me, for lack of a better phrase, kind of keep my guns in check, even if it's a non-white person and I think they're being rude to me. And again, I minimize contact. When I start catching folks who are rude, discourteous to me, okay, now the amount of contact that I have with this person is going to dramatically drop once I see that. But hey, that's okay. I'll take my lick for that day. Find a white person to take that out on.
Yeah, it does help to keep in mind. At least it helps me keep in mind that this person is damaged, victimized. And that doesn't mean you have to excuse every bad thing, but you can pick your battles. A lot of stuff is not even worth taking it personally. because it really isn't personal. So I think we have to be real careful in picking our battles and not just, got to have develop some empathy. It's just like if you have a child that's been brutalized, you expect that child's going to have some problems. So, and it helps us in our relationships, too, with each other, with male and female, is keeping in mind, when you're dealing with that brother has been brutalized in ways that black women, we don't even understand it. And we have no idea the kind of impact it has for black men to see other black men being murdered in the street, pulling at a traffic stop, pulling out a driver's license, standing in a doorway, going into a club, just being gunned down. What impact does that have on black men in terms of their fear, in terms of their self-worth, in terms of their ability to even protect themselves, let alone protect us? And then the same with black women. What is it like to be a black woman, to have yourself denigrated, to have your features ridiculed, to be told that you don't measure up, to be told that you're ugly, to have no protection in a society where women need to be protected? So, if we got to understand, at least I think we should understand, that when we're dealing with another person of the opposite sex, or even a family member, that we have no idea of what it's like internally for that person to see our worthlessness in this society. And some people can deal with it better and hide it better, but I don't know what it's like to be a black man. But I do know that if I was a black man, I'd be damaged, and black men don't know what it's like to be a black woman. But if they were black women, they would have some self-esteem issues. So, we ain't got to do anything, but simply I'm just saying that, it helps in our relationships to follow some of these same principles that we would do with people on the street. Sometimes we're nicer to people on the street than we are to people in our own homes. And understandably, because we spend more time there, the relationship's more intense. But this anti-blackness is killing our relationships. And we got to, it's important to develop some compassion and see that black male or black female as a victim, the same way that we've been victimized.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's see, we have some callers. I'm going to go to the phone line because I need a moment to kind of rest my voice. Unless you have anything you want to share.
Oh, no, we can go to the phone line.
Okay. The person who called in from D.C. with a hand up, your line is open. Person in D.C.
Greetings. Can I be heard?
Yes, greetings. Yeah, I can.
Can I be heard?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Greetings, Gus. Greetings, Pam. This is Sir Anton.
Okay. Glad you joined us. I was looking for you.
Yeah, so very constructive program tonight, talking about anti-blackness. I'm still a victim, and I still suffer from anti-blackness. I was wondering if you have seen a lot of the newer and older shows that mock black people that are so-called conscious, for example, or they want to become conscious, like, for example, Sanford and Son, when, like, Lamont goes African, or there's an episode of Martin when he's in prison and he has the Malcolm X, glasses on, and he's, mocking Malcolm X and whatnot. I think, with those type of images, I think that it belittles people that are trying to become, less confused, and it turns up the level of anti-blackness. So when someone that is less confused talks to people that are more confused, black people tend to, be more hostile towards them, or pretty much, laugh at them, based off of what they've seen on TV. I just want to know if anyone else has seen that.
Well, I've seen the Sanford and Sons. I remember that episode. I think when Gus did the show on Sanford and Sons, I think that came up. Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. It's a way to discourage black people from being self-respecting and from becoming conscious. And it is a problem when that is the kind of programming that black people are getting. Yep. And that's another thing.
That's all I had. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for calling.
Did you have anything that you wanted to share, Pam?
Well, the entertainment is a big part. Well, actually, I will run this down real quick. Anti-blackness, I had pretty much made this little outline of how anti-blackness follows the 4 stages of white supremacy that Mr. Fuller outlined at one time, and its establishment, I think maintenance, expansion, and refinement. And I would say the establishment of anti-blackness happened during slavery, colonization, and imperialism, along with, in my opinion, Christianity. That had a lot to do with anti-blackness when you're being severely abused and you're told to look to this white Jesus to save you. I mean, that is extreme brain trashing, and that is extreme anti-blackness because, I mean, if white Jesus is your savior, then who is your enemy? You know, the opposite of white Jesus, which is blackness. So I think the establishment happened during that phase, and it's still happening. The second phase would be maintenance, punishing black people who refuse to mistreat or degrade other black people, creating a social and economic and educational and political matrix that inferiorizes black people based on how dark they are, creating a beauty standard that penalizes black people, especially darker black people, and then using entertainment to get black people to think it's normal to be degraded and degrade other black people and just create an inferiority complex. And the third one would be expansion, spreading lies all over the planet about black people and spreading these degrading images so other non-whites will be convinced that blacks are inferior and begin mimicking what white people are saying and doing to black people. And then refinement is, to me, integration, assimilation, black showcasing, the illusion of inclusion, interracial dating, mating, and breeding. So that's refinement. Even the election of Obama was a severe refinement in anti-blackness because it was still based on this guy, you know, on the president having white ancestry. Let's be for real. If he was a dark-skinned black male, like the young man that went to jail for the dog fight, I can't think of his name.
Michael Vick.
Right. If he had been as dark as Michael Vick, would have never been an election. Never would have been a candidacy. So it's not Obama's fault, of course, of his ethnicity, but Obama was his candidacy and his election was a form of very refined anti-blackness because it said to be acceptable, he had to have white blood. So you could go to the phone lines. I just wanted to throw that out there, that anti-blackness is a very established and systematic process of brain trashing.
Well said. White people agreed. Senator Harry Reid said so. He said exactly what Pam just said. If President Obama was darker, shade of Michael Vick, no way he would have been in the White House.
Right.
I'm just going to open so I can rest my voice a little bit. When I open their lineup, you can just take it from there. Is that all right, Pam?
Sure.
Non-Mighty Wick, your line should be open.
Hello, can I be heard?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, thanks for coming on, Pam. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
I had a suggestion, and one thing I know I did consciously to try to combat some of the anti-blackness that I had when I, was beginning to get an understanding that it existed, was that when I would talk to non-white people, particularly I would try to use the term sir, or ma'am to address them to kind of just reinforce that, I need to attempt to be more cordial, kind, and so forth. TV show that I think really helped to push the idea of how to interact with non-white people who are, trying to sound like they are taking a position against white people. I know In Living Color, they used to run a skit with, I think it was Damon Wayans, and he would pretend to, I think he was in greater confinement sometime or some other scenes, and he would be, trying to be talking in a manner that was stereotypical of somebody, I guess, talking against white people, and so that was to address the anti question as well. So, yeah, I think a lot of people just pick up on that. Anybody that's really taking a stand against white people is somebody that's going to probably either, get in some sort of trouble down the line, or somebody not going to have a lot of so-called friends and stuff like that. And so, a lot of times black people will attack these people or at least put distance. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. They, or they say you're angry. You're angry. You're militant. You're angry. Through all the labels they hear white people use, but you're absolutely right. They find it very threatening, and so the ridicule comes. But I suspect that it's just that they don't want to be associated with it. And I did see that Living Color, I think, that show that you described. And, everything is done to make us think that being self-respecting is abnormal. That's why it's important to be careful of the kind of entertainment that we expose our minds to. Because you can think you're smart and all this and sharp, but I'm telling you, everything you hear and see is getting in there one way or another. It's manifesting itself on your brain computer. But that was a good suggestion, sir. I meant to say that before you. That's a good suggestion, just to be courteous, and sometimes using those proper terms and stuff can make a person. It can calm a situation. It can automatically diffuse the beginning of hostility, because really that's what people really are really sensitive about. Black people being feeling disrespected, because we're disrespected all the time. So the fact that somebody is giving them respect can really put some oil on that water. I mean, it can really be a real soothing lotion to a bruised and battered ego. Because think about it, we don't get much respect. The right kind of soothing lotion, sorry.
Non-Mighty Wick, did you have anything else?
No, sir. Thank you. And thanks, Pam. I'll continue listening.
Okay. Appreciate you listening. Good suggestions, too.
Yeah, I agree. The sir, ma'am, I think that's an excellent suggestion. I try to use that as often as possible. For all the reasons that have been stated. I heard that with Mr. Fuller. That was one of the things that really stood out. Like he does that all the time. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Doesn't matter if he's talking to whoever. It could be a 10-year-old or someone his age. He just addresses people in a very courteous manner at all times. And that really stood out to me when I was first listening to him. And he was in, the armed services, and I see that military discipline. And I see the benefit of that, because when you're in war, you're going to be in very tense situations. We're talking about bombing 1,000 people at a time, 10,000 people. This is going to get real tense. When you train yourself to be in the habit of speaking with courtesy and respect to the people that you're around, it carries over so that even when things get a little hot, if we're all in the practice, no sir, yes ma'am, no sir, man, it really helps when things do get tough. When your patience is a little thinner than it would normally be, just being in the habit of being courteous and respectful in the way that you talk to people pays major dividends. Major dividends.
Yeah, you're right. I remember not too long ago I was, participating. I posted some comments on a website article. And, people real quick to attack people and be real discourteous. And this one guy, you know, he had a bunch of exclamation marks and everything to what I'd said. And so I just said, you know, could we not do the name calling? And I didn't respond back negative, you know, hostile, you know, with other more name calling. I just said, you know, I respect your opinion. You know, I just disagree with it. I said, could we refrain from the name calling, please, sir? And, you know, he calmed down. And he didn't really come back very hard, didn't really say much, and then the other people kind of responded positively. You know, so even in that situation where nobody knew anybody, it seemed to be like made him pull up a little bit because I wasn't being discourteous in return. So a lot of people are just really struggling with these issues of feeling disrespected. They're not respected. Their opinion isn't respected. They've been taught that they're not this and that, and then everything becomes personal. Every disagreement, everything is irritating, and everything becomes personal because your self-esteem is on the line in every encounter you have with somebody. And that's a very exhausting thing to be engaged in. I think that's one reason we don't have the energy to fight. We're freaking exhausted. We're psychologically exhausted. People dying, people getting killed, struggling financially, struggling with self-esteem, being confused, being attacked all the time. We're exhausted. But you know what? We don't have to be exhausted. Yeah, I think we'll be less exhausted if we become less confused, because then you have a purpose. You understand what's being done to you, and you understand why. And that can have a real energizing effect. I think Malcolm X said when people get sad, they just become helpless and whatever, something to that effect. He said, but when people get angry, they take action. So I know people may say don't get angry. I'm a big one. I say get angry. Not get out of control angry, but be angry with a purpose. I believe in angry with a purpose. I believe when somebody's mistreating you and doing wrong things and hurting people just because they're black, I think that ought to tick you off. And maybe that's not the right attitude, but that's my attitude. And I'm sticking with it because if I don't have, you know, but I'm trying to be angry with a constructive purpose. I'm trying to use the anger in a constructive manner. And the anger keeps me from being vulnerable to this white identification as much.
The person who dialed in from California with a hand up, your line should be open. Person who dialed in from California on the talk show line.
Greetings, can I be heard?
Greetings. Sounds like, you know what?
Yeah, greetings. Did you ever see the movie Spike Lee did with about Malcolm X? Denzel Washington played Malcolm X.
I saw it. It's been a while though. Yeah.
Yeah, he got this one scene where, you know, he's a porter, and you know, the white people sitting in the cars, and they calling him over, you know, hey boy, you know, give me the apple pie or whatever they were saying, and he would, in his mind, he would like smash the pie in the white people's face or or something like that. And yeah, I do something similar to that, and I guess it's just I mean, when I was younger, it would be like sizing people up. Like I would size people up quick, and you know, just growing up in LA, it's like you just size them up, like, you know, or their size, you know, weak points, whatever. Like in an instant, you just size up another black male or whatever to see, like, are you stronger than them? Are they weaker or whatever? So, like my anti-black, for me, it came from just like that was a big problem for me, like all the way up to, you know, being an adult too, and I had to counteract that. It's like if I seen the black male that looked weak, I mean, I had so much like aggression towards that person, like I don't know, it was crazy. But what I do now is I try to track my thoughts. So I mean, I haven't got totally away from that anti-black, anti-blackness, but what I do is I just consider that like the first shot or the thought. Okay, boom, I see him and I'm like, man, this dude is weak, you know what I'm saying? He don't know he's in a war. Why is he walking around looking like he's in a daze or whatever? That's just the first thought, and then I just develop it and clean it up, and then I say, okay, this person is a victim, but and go through, the codified thought. When I see white people, I don't know. When I see white people, my first thought is just like, ugh. You know what I'm saying? Like, ugh, like their skin. I just observe. I make my observations. I'm like, man, they look sick. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just observe. Like they don't look right to me. They look sick, and they got pig colored skin. And after I have that thought, if I have to interact with them or talk to them, my speech is not that. It's just like, get the job done, do it. I mean, as far as whatever business is taking place, and polite and all that stuff. So I think that if Nipsey Hussle talks about we don't track anything, I think we should track our thoughts, because your speech is going to come after that.
Right.
A lot of times people we just speak, and we don't codify our thoughts, so then our speech and our actions that comes after that is just all wrong. So just track your thoughts, and I don't think it's wrong to have a thought like you said, you see a black female, you like bitch or whatever. That's cool, whatever. It's not maybe. I'm thinking that once you track your thoughts, you become more masterful at it. You won't have those thoughts, but just know that that's the first initial picture, and then once you develop it, then you say, no, that's not me. You know what I'm saying? This person, and then you make a proper codified observation. You say, oh no, this is, this person is victim of racism. Deserving pity and deserving of pity and you just codified thoughts. So and then your thoughts will be automatic. It's like my thoughts of white people is automatic. It's automatic, but my thoughts when I see black people aren't so automatic. I have to develop those thoughts, further, because sometimes my initial reaction is it's just anger and whatnot. So so I just would say track your thoughts, because thoughts are first, then speech and action comes after that. So, that would be my suggestion.
Okay, that's a good one, and you got to be aware of what you're thinking. That's the only way you can change it. Sometimes I wonder, when people are offended by people they perceive as weak, is it them reflecting our own fear about ourselves? Because what is our fear? That we are not as strong as we. I think that's almost natural in an environment that's dangerous. I suspect if we were in an environment where we were safe, we wouldn't be offended by people's weaknesses. But in an environment where you're in constant danger of some kind, it may be too much of a reflection of our fear about ourselves that we're seeing in these other people.
Yeah. That's why I said growing up in L.A., I just made it clear that that's a dangerous environment, hostile environment. Only the strong survive, and mentally, physically, that's just how it appeared. So yeah, when I seen it was what you just said is exactly right. It was me not wanting to be weak and basically getting hurt, taken advantage of, getting embarrassed, disrespected. That whole psychology was just like, not me, man. I've seen it happen too many times, and my fear of not wanting it to happen to me made me made me take actions. As I said, my thoughts and then my speech and actions just followed, and it was all. So then when I started seeing, I'm not proud of it, man, but I was gonna say I wasn't a victimizer, but I was a victimizer for a minute, man. I got to the point where I started becoming a person that I hated, like as far as, you know, taking advantage of people and hurting people and stuff like that. And I had to check myself, like, what am I doing? And then that was my actions. So I stopped those actions, but my thoughts were still like that.
Yeah.
It's like, so you're right. But
you know what's
yeah,
so
the
important?
environment.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was done. I was just gonna say that you're right.
And the most important thing we can be is honest. You know, I mean, what you just said was honest. I mean, that's the most important thing required to do any real change. But I like to compare us to being in a prison camp. And I think whatever those prisoners do inside that camp, the problem isn't the prisoners. The problem is the people that put them in the camp. And I think we have to begin to see ourselves as people in a prison camp. And the other prisoners are not the problem. The prisoners are reacting to their environment and their conditions, their incarceration, their unjust mistreatment. So you can't expect other prisoners to be normal. You know, the problem is not the prisoners. The problem is the prison. And I think, you know, maybe that helps if we see it that way, that, you know, if the prisoners are beating up on each other, how does that get them out of their prison? How in the world do you think the warden is your friend? And the people who locked you up in that prison, how can they ever be let off the hook for you being in that prison? How can we blame that on the other prisoners? It just doesn't make sense. But, you know, we don't have clarity about what's happening to us. So we've been taught to blame the other victims.
Yeah. I want to make sure I encourage, excuse me, this is really twofold. I want to promote and encourage other victims, as well as this is giving myself a little breather. I'm going to get our commercial break in really quick. That way everybody will get their plug. And then if anybody has questions or comments, they can tune in. The people that dialed in already with the hand up, your lines are still open. But we're going to do the commercial really quick, and then we'll be back. If you have other questions or comments, I would hope people have other suggestions for ways to negate and erode the anti-blackness among black people. I know I still have a few other suggestions as well. We'll be right back. Context of white supremacy.
RacismDaily.com, your number one source for global news reports on race, racism, and overt actions of white supremacy. From Asia to the Americas, to Europe, to Australia, to Africa, racism is not a thing of the past, it is our current reality. Be informed, be globally informed. You should be the first to know. RacismDaily.com, RacismDaily.com, RacismDaily.com.
Is racism hurting you? On issues of race, are you unable to speak, think, and act with clarity and confidence? Are you tired of laughing when nothing is funny, smiling when you are not happy, agreeing when you really disagree? At counterracism.com, you can learn specific strategies and techniques to counter the behaviors of the people who practice racism in all areas of activity, using words correctly, following counter-racist logic, even counter-racist science projects designed to reveal what racism is, how it works, and how to counter it. The open-source code writing format allows you to pick and choose from a variety of counter-racist suggestions so you can produce the code that works for you. Stop by counterracism.com today and help replace racism with justice.
That's counter-racism.com. Do you need a one-stop shop for all of your multimedia needs? Triumphant Multimedia is a skilled team of professionals with a passion for great marketing and chic design. Our specialties include consulting, brand development, copywriting, and creative graphic design that's second to none. We also offer photography, photo retouching, videography, and video editing. At Triumphant Multimedia, our goal is to provide highly effective creative solutions built to suit any individual need or budget. Give us a call at 678-732-8067 or check us out online at trimultimedia.com.
Hi everybody, welcome. This is Justice with the C.O.W.S radio program. If you want to learn about, understand, and counter racism, white supremacy, be sure not to miss a C.O.W.S episode. We keep them jammed-packed with constructive information to sharpen your use of words to help eliminate the system of racism, white supremacy, ASAP. Also, for more information on racism, white supremacy, and to invest in my counter-racist efforts, please visit my blog, justdojustice.blogspot.com.
You're just saying just buckets and buckets of words.
Yo, this is Wade, one half of the Black Twins, and I want y'all to check something out. Our latest project, Double Consciousness, the Mixed Message. This will be dropping October 2nd, 2011, featuring various audio from Umar Abdullah Johnson and Dr. Kambom, just to name a few. You can download this at www.gagmusicroom.bandcamp.com and at stlouismixtapes.com. That's STLmixtapes.com. Replace white supremacy with justice now.
This mixtape is only for victims of racism and white supremacy.
Context of white supremacy. Make sure. Pam, your line should be open. You're still with us?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you.
Yeah, hi. I got disconnected for a minute, but I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, the folks that dialed in and had a hand up, your lines are still open. And if you're on TalkShoe, it's *8. If you're on the free HD line, it's *6 if you have a question or a comment. One of the other suggestions that I had, I'll make sure I repeat it. It is an exercise in black mental health to refrain from name-calling and squabbling with other black people. And I think I first heard Mr. Fuller say this, resist the urge to criticize other black people. And you're going to see black people doing a lot of incorrect things. Lots of incorrect things. Every day, all of us. It will help minimize conflict. I feel like if that non-white person is doing something incorrect, white people will let them know. It's not my job to correct other confused victims or victims that I deem to be confused. That's not my job. If people are receptive to constructive information you offer, but I really resist that urge because I've just seen where that easily can go into conflict. And as I said, it's just not necessary. If you want to get in the business of criticizing black people, you're going to have lots of folks to choose from. The people who are most worthy of criticism, if we are indeed in a system of white supremacy, white people. And that's why my Facebook page, it's facebook.com. The problem is white people. It's on the flyer. It's repeated. I have that in mind. When you really understand that and focus on that, it helps me deflect a lot of those. When non-white people are being rude and discourteous, they say something that I don't like. Just having that in mind. The problem is white people. and just preparing for that, regardless of what happens. I think Mr. Nero, he called in one time and said, Gus and I, we're getting along constructively now. Don't be surprised if next week he's saying, that no good waterhead, Mr. Nero. He said, I think it was about a year ago. But I mean, that's true. And just have that in mind, oh well. Dr. Welsing, she thinks the cows is terrible now. That's sad. It's not. Man, wait till I'm going to make a whole program and talk bad. And the problem is white people. That's sad. We can all be hurt about that. Everybody has an ego, and you want people to think well of what you're doing, especially black people. You would like them to think well and right on. This black female, this black male is, sticking up for us and working against white. You would like that. And if it doesn't happen, we all have egos. But I mean, really, it's just you will wear yourself out. As I think Pam was saying that earlier, if you have your self-esteem on the line with regards to black people and whether or not or what they think about what you're doing, I just don't think you're going to have the energy to deal with white people. And I mean, I can tell you with the radio program being kicked off the air twice and just seeing the way white people responded when I began to make an effort to address racism, white supremacy, when you see the damage that white people can do to you, you will understand, hey, I have already got more on my plate than I can handle. I do not need any side dishes with black people. That is the least of the things that I need to add to my already full agenda of dealing with racist woman and racist man. You will make every effort that you can to not bring in any new squabbles, arguments with black people. White people are going to give you everything you can handle. I can guarantee that.
True.
I have another suggestion. What I do is when you see black people do things, masterful things, or if you read masterwork, some Ellison or any Du Bois or Baldwin, or something like that definitely, for me anyway, it gives me like when Gus was saying that he was like, yay black people after the blackout or whatever. I definitely have that spirit after reading a good piece of a good work done by a black person, or a story about a black person that had strong spirit. I remember reading about some of those boy soldiers in Africa and how they got through some of the things that they got through, to persevere through that with their sanity, minds intact. Man, I mean those stories are very inspirational. Miles Davis, Jimi Hendrix, Charlie Parker. When you see them cats perform, it's like, yay, black people. I mean, it's just unbelievable how masterful they are, and so yeah, I would suggest that people read good works about and from black people, and music, and find black people doing masterful things and check them out, because it'll definitely inspire you. So when you look at a black male or a black female, Nina Simone or whatever, you look at a black female, you won't be thinking that nigga, you'll be thinking Nina Simone. You know what I'm saying? And that's a good thing. I mean, she did, just I was gonna say that's a cowbell she did get with a white male, but I think when you see her perform, and she demanded respect, like she'd have a crowd of white people in the audience, and if they were talking and whatnot, she wouldn't start playing. She wouldn't start playing until they were absolutely quiet. She would make them basically shut up before she started playing. And that right there, I mean, that I found that very interesting. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that was just that spirit. She had a strong spirit, and I think for black people, I think the anti-blackness comes from, for me anyway, was that the white supremacists took our heart. You know, black people don't. It's like they took our heart. You know, they don't have the strong spirit. They give up so easily. You know, because they've been conditioned to give up. So when you see people, you know, like Miles Davis, he got out of this addiction. He was on heroin and whatnot, and because they tell you they say that black people don't have no heart. They still saying that, like in a fight game or whatever, that black people don't have the heart for the business and stuff like that. That's one of their, you know, lies that they tell us, that we don't have no spirit. Even the Asians or whatever, they claim that we don't have spirit, like we wouldn't have no spiritual power because our spirits are very weak. We have very weak, small spirits. But so when you can prove that wrong, your outlook on black people is much better, because you realize that that's a lie that they told. Just one of the many lies that they told.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, if you look at least in the U.S., all the real struggles that went on, black people were the vanguard, the instigators of everything. I mean, this is my view, and people might disagree with it, but my view is every so-called semi-privilege that non-whites have in this country came at the expense of black people. In other words, not the expense of black people, came through the sweat, blood, and tears and deaths of black people. So you want to talk about heart. I mean, let's be for real. I mean, what was life like for all non-whites in America before black people took to the streets and black people put their lives on the line? It was bad whether you were red, brown, yellow, or black. And so a lot of the so-called privileges that non-whites enjoy in this country, even non-whites from outside this country can come here and do whatever they do because of what black people did. So you want to talk about heart. No other ethnic group has fought back like we have. We have been the instigators of every social movement in this country. Even white women didn't have the vote before black people. So I'm just saying, you know, if you really look at it, you want to talk about heart. I mean, I don't even, I refuse. I mean, I will do battle with somebody that tries to compare my struggle, you know, the African Holocaust struggle with any other non-white struggle over here. So that pretty much, I can deflect that, you know, because the history bears me out as to who has heart. And I'm not putting down non-white people. They all been, you know, regardless of their, whether they're black or not. But let's be for real, in America, they was pretty much just going along with the program, okay? And everybody has imitated black people. Even the so-called gay, I don't call it gay, homosexual movement has stolen ideas and language and slogans from the civil rights movement. So I deflect that in my mind real easily, you know, as far as criticism from people regarding whether black people have heart or not. I mean, I just find that ludicrous to say that we don't have heart as hard as we fought and struggled and what we had to overcome and still haven't overcome, but what we struggled to overcome. I mean, please. Kind of reminds me of that story, the little hen that could. I think that's the right term. Little hen went and planted the wheat and harvested the wheat, asked people, hey, anybody want to help me? Nobody want to help you. Harvested, baked the bread. When the bread was done, here come everybody else wanting a slice. That's what the black struggle reminds me of in America. Black people, you went out there, the vanguard, out front, dying, getting lynched, churches bombed, and now that the so-called legislation, a few little pieces of legislation is passed, everybody wants to say, I'm a minority too. Get out of here. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't be treated fairly. Of course not. I think everybody on this planet has a right to make a decent living, to be able to take care of their families, to have protection. I mean, I'm totally in favor of that. But, I mean, come on. I mean, they didn't bake the bread. I mean, they weren't there in the struggle. So after the bread has been baked and the slices are handed out, everybody now is what? Now we don't have any heart? After you sat there and let us do it by ourselves, now we don't have heart?
There's a listening. I am. My apologies. My energy is a little low. I'm not not feeling my best. There's a listener, investor, Ross43. He has written in the chat room. He has a coworker who is older than him, but she is constantly bossing him about, and he's having to constantly bite his tongue because he feels a current of resentment building up because of that behavior. And he's just saying that this person talks about, I guess, is gossiping, right? Talking about him behind his back, and he's trying to get suggestions on how to deal with this non-white person.
Yeah, my first question would be, is the gossip, does it affect his ability to earn a living? I mean, does it harm him materially in any way? That would be my first question. Is it just an annoyance, or does it threaten, like, his income or his job or his personal life?
Okay. I'll wait on his response. Ross, hopefully, I think that was clear. Is it just this is personally annoying, or is this something where she's creating actual obstacles to you being able to do your job and, earn an income? Yeah, I'll wait and see what he has to say. While I'm waiting on him to type, B.H. Rasta, he's been a guest on the program before, White Supremacy in the Caribbean. He said to minimize the amount of contact you have with victims who gossip, because that sort of behavior, it is infectious, and I have seen that. I mean, it really, that is a wildfire you don't want to get started. Really watch that, being around non-white people who have a tendency to start criticizing and just, talking bad about other black people. It's not constructive under these conditions. There also was someone in the chat room. They asked what should be done with, I guess it was, I'm trying to make sure I phrase it correctly. How should a Huey, and this is from the Boondocks, how should a Huey conduct themselves with an Uncle Ruckus? And for people, if you're not familiar with the Boondocks, Huey, it's a cartoon, Aaron Magruder, non-white male. Huey is a 10-year-old black male. He would be less confused. He is less confused about white supremacy. Uncle Ruckus is super white identified. He loves white Jesus. He loves white people. He hates black people. I would say that I don't make comparisons in that manner, because it makes it seem like there are some non-white people, because they are, quote unquote, less confused, they are better than these other black people who are confused and white identified. I really try to keep it equal, because I think every single black person on the planet has a little bit of Uncle Ruckus in them to one degree or another. That's that anti-blackness. We all got that. And I really try not to make comparisons where I'm saying, well, Neely Fuller is here, and, a confused non-white person is down here, and how is Mr. Fuller going to interact with this? I don't think it's constructive to look at it that way. I just try to think of it as, a victim relating to another victim. And sometimes you have victims who are a little bit more confused, maybe. How do you deal with that? I try not to criticize. That's one thing. If they are more confused, what I do, if I'm around non-white people who are confused, it's got to be purposeful. Like, I don't just do hanging out. I don't do leisurely just kicking it to be kicking it with non-white people. Particularly if I've concluded that these are people that I think are less confused. We're going to be doing something like we have agreed to get together for a specific reason. And when that's done, most likely I'm going to be out. That's one of the major things that I do. People that are confused, I just don't spend a lot of frivolous time around them. Really, any non-white people. If we're together, exchange views on racism, white supremacy, we're doing something constructive. If we're going to paint the house, something of that nature, not just hanging out. I think that would go a long way. Also, some of the things that I do, I don't proselytize. That's one of the things that really has turned me off to things, when people try and cram something down my throat. I don't do that with counter-racism. I don't go out if I think these people are confused. You won't listen to me. Don't be having sex. I don't do that. It's not, black people, generally speaking, we're not interested in listening to other black people. That can be one of the quickest ways to generate conflict, to go find someone that you think is confused and decide that, you know, I'm going to let this person know how confused they are and that they need to go read Mr. Man. Get your boxing gloves on, because I can tell you that's going to go downhill fast. Just those are some of the little things that I do. Just really being mindful of the way that I still am courteous. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. I don't feel compelled to talk. If they want to do a lot of talking, that's fine. I'll listen and ask questions if I have time. But those are just some of the basic things that I do if I'm around someone that I think is more confused about racism, white supremacy. You have any thoughts, Pam?
Yeah, I do. I'm getting a little better, but I used to do it all the time. If somebody's confused, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go have a conversation with them about it. And I would say a lot of times, it, like you said, it doesn't work out well. You know, if you really haven't changed any minds, because, you know, you're talking at them. You know, you're not really listening to them. You're attacking their belief system and all that. It doesn't generally work out too well. I would say minimize contact with people who are confused, and there's no constructive way to interact with them, and there's no reason really to be with them. I would minimize contact. And that's kind of tough, because you might enjoy their company, whatever, or you might just want to be where those people are. But I would say if it's going to be conflict, you need to minimize contact if you can't find a way to resolve the conflict. So I would just say, you know, there's a lot of constructive things to do. There's even enjoyable constructive things to do. You know, it doesn't have to be like all hard work and sacrifice. I mean, there's other things that you can probably be doing. And maybe part of that is seeking out other people who are open to what you're trying to do.
I agree with that. Definitely. And trying to find non-white people that you can work with constructively. Meaning, as I said, it's not, I doubt you're going to find somebody where you all have 100% agreement. That's probably not going to happen. But at least someone where you all agree on enough things, you're courteous in the way you treat each other. Hey, we can get some things done. You know, we can plan out, we want to do this, boom, 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 make a plan, get that done. Try to find people where you can do that. And really, you know, I think a lot of that, really having patience in mind when you deal with non-white people, and just trying to find what you can use. Keep that in mind. Mr. Fuller said, resist that urge to criticize and just look for what you can use that's constructive with a non-white person, and just staying focused on what it is that you're supposed to do. It's not my mission to correct non-white people on what they're doing. That's not my job. You know, I have my understanding of racism, white supremacy. I don't need every non-white person to agree with me. That's a huge one. Big part of counter-racism. United, independent. You don't need agreement from other non-white people. I think a lot of times we get into arguments, and I think it goes back to what you said earlier about self-esteem and self-respect. You really don't need other non-white people to agree. And that's another one. I don't think we would have got to 500 if we get there. I don't think we would have got that far if it was just about every guest that comes on needs to agree with, you know, my views. I mean, just taking, particularly if it's a non-white person, it just is not necessary. I think we can solve this problem. All of us are a little confused and still learning. I think we can work in a constructive manner, even if we don't have, you know, agreement across the board on everything. That's not necessary. We can still get a lot of work done with people if you have similar views that are not quite identical.
Yeah, and that actually makes it kind of boring anyway. You know, you're not looking to just have a bunch of parrots. And we're all in a position where we can learn something. You know, we think we might disagree at first and then find out there's something there that we got out of it. So it's useful to have people with different viewpoints. these differing viewpoints.
I want to double check with the folks that dialed in, the people that had hands up. Did y'all have any other questions or comments you all wanted to get in? I assume they are.
Have you heard?
Oh, yes, sir. We can hear you.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say for Roz or whatever, have a game plan. I mean, if you're doing some type of work and it's not interesting, I mean, I would just be efficient. Just try to be as efficient as you can. And, if you're not, stay busy. You know what I mean? Like, always be working on whatever it is you're working on. And if she's a supervisor or a lead person or whatever, and she's giving you tasks, do the task and do them efficiently. I mean, I'm saying that your focus should be on your work. How to do this better, because that'll occupy your time. You won't be thinking about the gossip or whatever. You'll be thinking about how can I do this better, and faster, and more efficient. So that'll give your brain some something to do. It's thinking how you can be better and more efficient. And if it's interesting, then it could be fun or whatever. But I would just say have a game plan going in, and already have what you're going to read. Like if you're on a break, that you could be doing some mad constructive things on your break instead of listening to people tell you what somebody said. Like you don't even have time for that. You got other stuff to do. You're working on projects. You're being creative. You're thinking about whatever. I mean, like listening to somebody talk for what? Man, I just I never was one for that. I don't know, but if you have a game plan and you making sure that your work is efficient and you're always busy, you have your task for the day, however long you're working, and when you're on the breaks or whatever, you're working on other things. I think because that happened to me, it's definitely happened to me a couple of times where people wanted to involve me in their business or talk about me in some way or whatever. But I mean, I was so busy that people started spreading out real thin. Like the only people I would really associate with, it was constructive interactions, and the people that wanted to put me in some type of drama or nonsense, they couldn't do it because anybody that they would talk to about me, they would be like, well, I mean, when we see him, he's got his nose to the grindstone, and on breaks or whatever, he's doing something. So what are you talking about? They couldn't even put me in that. They couldn't put me in that lane, and that was because I had a game plan. I already know that if I'm working for in a situation like that, I mean, just being a black male, I don't know how it is for other black males, but what I've found is if I'm working around, people, a group of people, whatever, they try to pull me into some type of nonsense. I don't know why that is, but so my game plan was I already know that people are gonna try to pull me into their nonsense. So my game plan is to never make eye contact with people when I'm working. People, if they want something from me, they have to basically get my attention wholeheartedly, because my attention is elsewhere. So have your game plan, and whatever your natural abilities are as far as your focus and whatnot, use that to your advantage. And
I would add something to that. That's good advice. One thing that I found in my experience is you can't get away from gossip. It's almost like you just have to assume If somebody somewhere sometime is going to be saying something about you because that's just who they are, most of the time you really better off not taking it personal, especially if it's something that doesn't make any sense, if it's not even based on any kind of factual information. And I'll tell you something else that I found too is, who is the person that's coming to you and telling that somebody's gossiping on you? That person is most often an instigator. So that person is hoping to instigate something between you and this other person sometimes, and they may go back, they're going to go right back and tell what you said. So the best thing you can do is don't feed into it, because the person that's bringing you this nonsense, you have to make it so that they don't benefit from bringing you that nonsense. And that's either telling them that you really got too busy, you don't really want to hear that, or just not buying into it, and they'll stop. So a lot of times the people that are bringing you stuff, they might not even be telling you the truth. That person may not even have said it. So you got to really, I would say in this case, beware of the messenger more than the message. But there's no way to stop people from gossiping about you. If it doesn't interfere with your money, doesn't interfere with your love life, just blow. You really just don't even engage them. That would be my advice. If it doesn't affect you, harm you in any material way, just accept it. It's just part of dealing with people, period, black or white. It's just the way people are. But I would definitely beware of the messenger. Who's bringing you this mess, because you wouldn't hear about the gossip probably if somebody wasn't telling you. So I would beware of that person.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Like, if you're busy and somebody's coming to bring you some gossip, it's like you look up from whatever it is you're doing, and yeah, that person said blah blah blah, and you're like, oh, okay, and then go back to whatever you was doing. Kind of like, I really don't have time for this. I'm so engaged in what it is I'm doing. I really don't have time to hear you. But yeah, I heard you. Okay. You're like, go on about your business now. Whatever. I'm busy. And if it's your boss, like he said that she was bossing them around, if that's your boss, because I remember this one time I had like a kind of supervisor, and then I had like this lead. Now the lead, he was a white dude, and my supervisor, he was black. So, the black dude, he was kind of telling me different things to do. He wasn't really bossing me around, but it was conflicting with what the lead wanted me to do. So I'm like, man, I was feeling like I was caught in between. Like, man, this black dude is telling me this to do, this white dude is telling me this to do. It's affecting my job. I'm finna get fired. You know what I'm saying? So I just had to make a choice. Like, okay, this white dude got more power? He's the head of this black dude. So I'm gonna do with this. I'm basically kind of follow the lead of this white dude, and kind of tell the black dude, like, look, man, this dude is threatening to fire me, and so I gotta kind of be low key, man. I can't be running around here doing all this and that, And the reason why I was kind of like trying to follow what the black male was telling me to do is because, like, it wasn't like the job was easier, but it was more interesting. Like, we was taking road trips and everything like that. But when I thought it was like, man, this is gonna be more interesting. But when I got my priorities straight and you know what I'm saying, started kind of being on the listening to what the white male was telling me, man, I wasn't really doing anything. Like, that side of it, that team over there, they wasn't doing nowhere. So you just have to, you have to figure out, like, who really you got to answer to, and that's an answer, the answer to them. If she's an underling boss, already have like the higher, whoever's the higher, if they told you to do something, man, be engaged in that. So you won't be. Seems like you be having time on your hand where she come tell you to do so. Oh, you're not busy, go do this. Oh, you're not busy, go do that. So if that's the case, just stay on task.
Yeah.
There's a person, excellent suggestions, by the way, that, hey, keep in mind who you got to answer to on the plantation. That'll do a whole lot to minimize conflict. The person that dialed in from Massachusetts on the talk show line, did you have a question or comment?
Hey, Gus. Can I be heard?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
How you doing, brother? Hope that cold of yours get better. How you talking about? It's cold up there. It's been cold, like, down here for the last few days. Just want to say really good show. And I wasn't going to really call in because I'm more about listening than talking these days. But when you started talking about people working together, you know, I've been doing that. As a matter of fact, I've been doing that for like going like a year and a half. I've been working with a brother from here. Like, you know, I am South Central American, whatever, Negro, you know, which is for us confused people. It's like we have problems, definitely, knowing each other, dealing with each other, and things like that. You know what I'm saying? I do know that we were called Negroes before the U.S. even existed, because the word Negro came from what they were already calling us down there, Negro. Anyways, yeah, I've been working with a brother from here, called, you know, Black American, African American, or whatever, to try to help our people. I've been volunteering my services to work with this brother, and with this brother, actually, I fell asleep listening to the show because I was working till 6 o'clock in the morning. And these days, instead of talking, I try to do things that find another person that I know is trying to help non-white people and work with them instead of talking. And, you know, he's been attacked by other people, you know, all these so-called black people, you know, and I had to tell him, I said, man, this is all it is distraction, because you ain't going to get no work done. But as long as you keep losing your focus and going back to these people to argue with them, you know, so, you know, we still working, and, you know, that's what I've been doing. I've been working a lot. Like I said, I've been doing it for, like, going on a year and a half, and I volunteered my services for him. As a matter of fact, when I told him, I said, you my boss. He's like, no, man, I ain't your boss. I said, no, it ain't like that, man. I volunteered my services to you because, in reality, I'm not no child, and I'm not no punk, excuse my language, but I said, you know, I've been here, been working for all these Europeans and stuff. I said, but I never had the privilege to be involved in something that, you know, involves helping, you know, our people. You know, whether or not, you know, y'all see me as y'all brother or not, but I read history and things like that, and I know that we are related. You know what I'm saying? And as far as suffering, brother, we suffer. That's why a lot of times we rather come here and trade our places with y'all because we feel like down there we have it worse than y'all. We be willing to trade our places with y'all anytime. Because as far as like you see how y'all getting shot by the cops here now. 20 years ago, that's been happening down there, and now I have experience in like so-called Panama, where and the funny thing is, it's so-called black cops that would do that to you because they do all the dirty work for the white supremacists. You run from a cop down there, they'll kill you, and that's it. That's the bottom line. When you go to jail, you don't get a bed. You get a cardboard box on the floor, a newspaper. That's you have to fight somebody, stab somebody, or do something to get a piece of newspaper to lay down on the ground. That's so you know we have it rough. We all have it rough. But the thing is, it's not criticizing each other about who has it rough or whatever. Can we do some work? Can we help each other in some kind of way to move forward? That's why I don't even like talk that much. I don't call that much because at this point I'm like, but I'm you know, I listen to your show. If I don't listen to it on air, I download it, even though I've been having a lot of problems now connecting to your show. It's like I don't know what's going on. But yeah, man, it's always good to hear your shows, brother. It's always good, and I hope the cold gets better. And Pam, my respects to you, and good job. I know you're always on the job, so peace to y'all.
Thank you. It's good to hear from you. It's nice to hear from people outside the U.S.
I'm in Massachusetts.
Huh? I thought you said you were from outside the U.S.
No, I am Panamanian. That's what
Okay.
I'm saying. I was trying to say that, but
Okay.
I ain't grew up here. I've been
Okay.
here all for a very long time.
Okay. It's still good to hear from you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Same. It's always a blessing to hear you guys. But I'm gonna keep listening and learning. So peace to y'all.
All right, peace to you.
Good to hear from you, sir. Yeah, about the enforcement officers. That 909. He mentioned James Baldwin, and he has a passage in his book, Evidence of Things Not Seen, which is on the so-called Atlanta child murders. Our first program, when the cows returned in 2009, he has a passage in that book where he says that growing up, black people didn't call the police, and they especially avoided calling the police if they thought a black enforcement officer was going to show up, because black people, he said, were much worse in their abuse of black people than even the white people. And he said that he thought that this was, hey, I'm going to prove to you that I might be black, but I'm not black like you. And from what the caller just shared, it sounds like that is a worldwide manifestation of anti-blackness.
I think they also feel that they're giving themselves some measure of safety with those white officers. They're saying, I'm on your side. Unfortunately, that doesn't always work out, because the United States and probably all over the world have a notorious, horrible reputation of white officers shooting black undercover officers and black policemen, particularly those working undercover. So even while they attempt to create some kind of safety zone with these white officers, there is no safety zone. But I think they do that as a way of trying to show the white officers that, I'm not like these other people. I'm on your side. Please don't hurt me.
Mm-hmm. I think that has devastating psychological ramifications for the non-white. As I said, hey, white people, they have compensated non-white people, especially black people, handsomely compensated them in terms of income and putting them on television and movies for degrading other black people. But there are consequences, big-time consequences with that, even if it's just on a psychological realm. And I'm actually reminded, Richard Pryor, the year that he set himself on fire, he did the film Stir Crazy. In that film, they got him kissing a dark-complexioned black male in a dress. And I touched on it on the program. I do not think that's a coincidence at all, that in the year he sets himself on fire, he's in a blockbuster film in jail kissing a black male in a dress. That's how the film concludes. That when anytime you are participating in that sort of behavior, it has a huge impact, and I see tons of examples of that. Martin Lawrence and all the difficulties that he's talked about. You got another black male, famous, Shanae. Anti-blackness. Martin filled with anti-blackness. Black people having fun, being rude and discourteous to one another. That stuff has a major cycle. I'm reminded of the Oreo experience, and she references black people as RBPs, regular black people, as though she is somehow special. That, unfortunately, is not true at all, and white people can show you better than I can tell you. There are extraordinarily damaging psychological ramifications for that anti-blackness. All of us pay for it, but if you think the route to go, I'm just gonna, be anti-black and disparage other black people and hope that white people will do right by me and not treat me like these other black people, lots of evidence. No, that's not gonna cut it. It might even drive you crazy at the end of the day. I am going to happily mute my mic and in my voice talking for the day, but we have about 5 minutes left in the program. I'll say one more time. It is an exercise in black mental health to refrain from name calling and squabbling with other black people. We will be back tomorrow. As long as my voice holds up, we'll do tomorrow. I'm looking forward to having Dr. Jomo Mutegi back on the program. Folks, it's been over a year since he was on the program, and people still reference the great information he had to share. He's been doing specific reports on learning techniques for black children, and he was really excited about discussing some of the information in those reports. He'll be up tomorrow. It's a little bit earlier than our normal broadcast, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific, but always great to hear from Dr. Mutegi, and the reports are outstanding. You can download them. We'll be going into detail on those tomorrow. That will be Monday, September 26th, 3 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. The website for Pam, all their great information, TrojanHorse1.com. It's the number one, TrojanHorse1.com. I will mute my line. Invest if you think the broadcast is constructive, and you can visit Justice's website, justdojustice.blogspot.com. I will mute my line. We have about 5 minutes left. The people that called in, 909, Sir Anton, cafepress.com/creative concepts. cafepress.com/creative concepts. Sir Anton 909 and Non-Mighty Wick, your lines should be open. We have about 5 minutes left. I will mute my line for the remainder of the program.
Can I be heard?
Yes, I can hear you.
I was just curious, can anybody think of an example of a person, a black person that does so-called hip-hop music, degrading black people, talking bad about black people and all that, who, exhibits, that psychological, impact of it being negative for them or whatnot? Because I agree. I mean, they are rewarded big time for doing that, and then the people who don't do that, typically, you got to sell out the trunk of your car or something like that. So.
James Brown. I was supposed to be quiet, but that would be the one I would take. James Brown, permed, chemically mutilated hair, married a white person, all the trouble that he had with the law and everything. If you watch Rocky IV, when they make a little minstrel scene in Rocky IV where he's dancing around with Apollo with the American flag on, I would take James Brown. They're probably better, but that would be the first one that I thought of since he did the whole Black and Proud thing.
What song did James Brown make any music where he was, degrading black people? I mean, that I'm aware of, or that you know of?
I could probably look at his discography, and I'm thinking Payback in the top of my head right now, because he's talking about getting a razor and going after somebody. I don't think he was talking about white people. But I was really not even thinking about the content of his music. I was really thinking that image, the chemically mutilated hair, that is major anti-blackness. The married a white person, major anti-blackness. And I think those strategies, I'm sure, that went along with his career, the presentation. He's known for having the chemically processed hair. I think Al Sharpton tells a story. They were going to meet the president. He said, you can't have your hair like that. Go meet the president. We got to do something we got to fix your hair before we go see the white president in the White House. So yeah, I was submitting James Brown not so much on the content of his music, but and now that I'm thinking about it, Payback, that would be one. Like I said, he's talking about getting a razor and sticking it to somebody. I'm quite certain he had black people in mind, but I could be wrong.
I would say Kanye West. And there's another one, I can't think of his name, the one that said, "I'm not human."
Lil Wayne.
Yeah. I think that when you look at a lot of these rappers, it's almost like you can almost see the psychological self-destruction just in the type of imagery that they allow themselves to be used to promote. I think they're suffering greatly. And the sad thing about it, they're role models. And I think they're suffering greatly, even when they don't go to jail. I mean, Kanye West to me is I mean, he's almost a textbook case of somebody to me who's psychologically self-destructing and being used horribly for whatever reason. But I think if you look at a lot of these rappers, the ones going in and out of jail. So one of them, I forget what his name is, a T.I. or something. You know, going to jail. I mean, you know, every time if you go on these black websites, some rappers always going to jail. But somehow the media has made it sound glamorous, but I know it's not glamorous. That's crazy. That's just crazy living. So I think that these young black entertainers are suffering greatly. And the sad thing about it is they're being portrayed as their lifestyle is glamorous. But if you really look at them, they seem to be really in a lot of, drugs, alcohol, sexual perversion, dysfunctional families, you know, just, man, it's a mess.
Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, he had to run off to Africa. Ironically, he ran off to Africa, and according to what I had read, he didn't go home to his Asian wife. He went off to Africa. I mean, I guess, you know, he was at a point where he said he hated to even go into work every day. I mean, I think he knew that he was reaching the crossroads, point of no return. And he said a lot of the skits he was doing was disturbing to him. He wondered, you know, if they were incorrect. So even though he was very much admired and very much applauded and on the verge of making a lot of money, he was unhappy.
Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, yeah.
I could probably name everybody. You could probably, if we knew enough
everybody
about these people, everybody's name would be on that list. If we knew enough about these people, I'm just picking. These are more blatant examples because you can see Oprah. I think her weight problems directly attributable to the strain of what she's had to do to please white people, with her, particularly those ruthless, savage white women. Because that's her audience. So I mean, yeah.
Yep. So I agree with you. I think if you really knew their ins and outs of their real life, not the celluloid version, you would see that they experienced many moments of despair. And I think that accounts for a lot of the alcoholic, you know, just a lot of the addictions, sexual perversions, alcoholism, drug addiction, just overspending. Even overspending is a sign that something is wrong. When you have to have all this materialism. I mean, people think, well, that's great. You can buy, I mean, what do you need 20 cars for? Let's be for real. To me, that's a sign of something that's not right in your life, that you have to just spend excessively.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah. The chemical mutilations, the plastic surgeries, just the appearance. I saw Roberta Flack. She was doing a commercial for ASP, you know, the American Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. And I was shocked, you know, because this is how I felt now. I saw her, you know, she had this really strange hairdo. And I thought to myself, what's going on, sister? Because it wasn't a matter of personal taste. It just really looked bad. And I thought, wow, you know, this entertainment industry is brutal on black people. Brutal. They don't even know themselves anymore. Not to say that we're really better off not outside of it, but they're more visible. You can see, or at least you can, you know, you think you can see some of the things that look like they're going wrong with their lives because they're so public. But I think when white people reward you, man, they could never give you as much as they take from you because they hate you, and now, you know, you got some measure of success, they're going to make you pay for that. You're going to pay mightily when they give you something. Because if it didn't serve their purpose, you wouldn't get it at all. I'm sorry.
No worries. That would do it. We're at the 3-hour mark. Pam, unless you have anything you would like to wrap us up with? You may have the final word.
Okay, the only thing I want to say is in a couple of weeks we should be out with book number 3. And book number 3 is an interracial con game. And it's pretty much a continuation of the same theme of, well, actually it's got a lot of new information and material in it. But it's basically trying to paint a picture of the danger of and the purpose behind promoting interracial sex between blacks and whites. So keep an eye on the website. It should be probably another 2.5 weeks, and it should be out. And that's pretty much it. I just wanted to make that announcement.
TrojanHorse1.com. Excellent material. We will be eagerly awaiting the new material, having a program to do a book review, share constructive information on, why that is one of the worst things you want to do, be in bed with a white person. Thoroughly enjoyed it, as usual, Pam. We'll be looking forward to the next time. We will be... I'm sorry?
I said I enjoyed it, too.
For sure. Your suggestion. We'll be back tomorrow. Dr. Jomo Mutegi, his second visit to the cows. Program is 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope it was constructive, and I'll say it one more time. It is an exercise in black mental health to refrain from name-calling and squabbling with other black people. Context of white supremacy, signing out.